All right, hello and welcome to this regular city council meeting. It's June 16th, 2026. We're going to start with the land acknowledgement. The land that Eureka rests on is known in the Wiyot language as Jirojiji. Past actions by local, state, and federal governments removed the Wiyot and other indigenous peoples from the land and threatened to destroy their cultural practices. The city of Eureka acknowledged the Wiyot community, their elders both past and present, as well as future generations. This acknowledgement demonstrates the city's commitment to dismantle the ongoing legacies of settler colonialism. And if we could get a roll call, please.
Councilmember Castellano?
Here.
Councilmember Moulton?
Here.
Councilmember Fernandez?
Here.
Councilmember Bauer?
Here.
Councilmember Contreras-Deloche?
Here.
Mayor Burgell?
Here. And would all who care to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And Attorney Black, do we have a report out of closed session?
Mayor, there was an action taken in closed session regarding litigation to be filed. A motion was made as follows. Motion to authorize and direct the city attorney's office to file a receivership in the matter of City of Eureka versus Dick Leroy Anderson et al., Humboldt County Superior Court case that's being refiled is CV 26-00047 regarding 25 Wabash Street, Eureka, California, 95501. That motion was made by Councilmember Moulton, seconded by Councilmember Fernandez, and passed on a 4-1 vote, with Councilmember Castellano voting no.
Thank you. And with that, we will have our first proclamation. Our first proclamation is for Pride Month 2026, and that will be read by Councilmember Fernandez.
At the City of Eureka proclamation in recognition of Pride Month. Whereas our nation was founded on the principle of equal rights for all people, but the fulfillment of this promise has long been incoming for many Americans, some of the most inspiring moments in our history have arisen from the various civil rights movements that have brought one group after another from the margins to the mainstream of American society. And whereas in the movement toward equal rights for lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender, queer, intersex allies, LGBTQIA people, a historic turning point occurred on June 28, 1969 in New York City with the onset of the Stonewall riots. And whereas during these riots, LGBTQIA citizens rose up and resisted police harassment that arose out of discriminatory criminal laws that have since been declared unconstitutional. In the 4 decades since, civil rights for LGBTQIA people have grown substantially, and the LGBTQIA Pride celebrations have taken place around the country every June to commemorate the beginning of the Stonewall riots. And whereas California has been a leader in advancing the civil rights of its LGBTQIA citizens, and while further progress is needed, it is important to recognize and celebrate the substantial gains that have been achieved. And whereas the City of Eureka recognizes and celebrates the steps forward our nation has made, but understands the challenge and struggle for full equality continues for Eureka residents and visitors, including those in its lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, intersex, asexual community. Now, therefore, I, on behalf of Mayor Kim Burgell and the City Council, hereby proclaim June 2026 as Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, Transgender, Queer, Intersex, and Asexual Pride Month.
Thank you, Councilmember Fernandez. And we do have one more proclamation, and I'm going to read this one because I got to participate with them yesterday. This is the City of Eureka proclamation in recognition of Sri Chinmoy Oneness Home Peace Run, June 2026. And I just want to say that they're not here tonight because they ran 100 miles to Klamath. They're running around the 48 continual states, and then they're heading from here to Alaska and then to Hawaii is where they'll end up. So 100 miles a day. They're a relay. It's pretty incredible, but we'll get to that later. So as part of the recognition, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, and among these are life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Whereas 250 years ago, with these immortal words, our forebears set forth a new vision for the world, a world in which all of us, sisters and brothers of one family, one human family, would live in peace. A world in which our uniqueness as individuals would not divide us, but unite us. Indeed, the very motto of our country at its founding was E pluribus unum, one of many, one. And whereas today, 250 years later, as we strive for a more perfect union in the United States of America, it behooves us to remember once more the lofty ideals on which this nation was founded, and to remember that the peace we will all seek is founded on love, love of neighbor, love of community, love of country, love for the world. As the founder of the Oneness Home Peace Run, Sri Shimoni once said, and, "O dreamers of peace, come, let us walk together. O lovers of peace, come, let us run together. O servers of peace, come, let us grow together." Whereas Sri Shimoy devoted his life to fostering peace in the aspiring heart of humanity and to the fulfillment of the unlimited potential of the human spirit, since 1987, the Sri Chinmoy Oneness Home Peace Run has carried the torch of this noble cause in spirit and action to millions of people in over 160 countries. And now, therefore, I, Mayor Kim Burgell, on behalf of the Eureka City Council, with a profound sense of hope and gratitude that we welcome the Peace Run to the city of Eureka and declare June 16th, which was yesterday, Sri Chinmoy Oneness Home Peace Run Day, and encourage all students, or all citizens, I'm at work here, all citizens of the city of Eureka to cherish in their hearts and in their homes the ideals on which our country was founded and which the Peace Run strives to embody. I just love that. Okay, so that moves us to presentations. Let's see, we've got Eureka Main Street Annual Report and 4th of July Festival with Econ Development Manager Asbury. Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I asked Amanda Kruschke to give this presentation, and I just wanted to take a moment to give some kudos to Amanda. Our Main Street program is doing so well. Both Arcata and Fortuna dissolved their Main Street programs. It's a difficult program. Ours went the other direction. We now have national accreditation, one of only 832 Main Street programs in the nation that have that. And our 4th of July festival, it's one of the biggest festivals in the county. We had 22,000 people come last year. And both of those things are such a reflection of Amanda. She is so steady, and she's been doing this for years, and everybody just knows that they can count on it and what it's going to be like, and it's consistent, dependable, and that just is such a reflection of her. So.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I am going to give you an update about Eureka Main Street and the 4th of July Festival that's coming up really soon. So Eureka Main Street belongs to the Eureka Business Improvement District, which is a BID, and it serves 49 blocks of downtown and Old Town. Bid fees are based on, excuse me, bid fees are based on the business's location, the type of business, and how many employees there are. And the fees are collected through the City of Eureka's finance office with the annual business license fees. Eureka Main Street is a Main Street America and California Main Street accredited program, and we've been accredited since 1992. So this is what we're talking about. This is the 49 blocks of downtown and Old Town. We cover A to I streets and waterfront to 8th. So it's a pretty large area, and we serve this district through volunteer board and myself. So we are very heavily a volunteer program, as most Main Streets are. So Main Street America has developed a program based on 4 points that cover that are most effective in having a vibrant Main Street. And those 4 points are organization, economic vitality, design, and promotion. And so our organization has 4 committees that are based off of those 4 points. So in order to be accredited, you have to go through a pretty extensive accreditation application. They just expanded the application about 3 years ago. And so part of that process is we have to demonstrate the work that we're doing, and that includes transformation strategies, work plans, a board matrix. They want to know who is representing our district, and that is property owners, business owners, and community members. And so in demonstration of what we've been doing, I've included some of the stuff that we accomplished in the previous year that helped us achieve our accreditation for 2026. So our organization committee covers things like budgeting, membership engagement, and really fun things like revising bylaws, which we had to completely redo a few years ago. So it's a lot easier than it could potentially have been. So the organization committee just kind of does the nuts and bolts of of our program. And so in the last year, we've developed a block captain program, which is an extension of our board to reach out to all of the members in our district, which is sometimes difficult to do because we have such a large area and we're cut off we have the highway running through our district. So reaching the businesses in downtown in the outer areas is sometimes difficult. They don't feel as engaged, and so that's one of the things we're really trying to focus on, is trying to get them engaged and understand what their needs are, because their needs are different than those that are in the central of Old Town. So we've developed that program. We also held our annual meeting and resource fair, which we had 14 organizations, business serving organizations that came and were able to connect with businesses that had any needs. In progress, we are working on a Eureka Main Street education plan, and this is a plan that's all-inclusive in that we're reaching our members. We want our members to understand more about our program and what we have to offer them, and we also want the community to understand what we're doing. We do the work, but we're not loud about telling everybody what we're doing, so a lot of people don't understand what we're doing. So we're really trying to be more forward-facing in that. So that's one thing that we're developing now. And we also have developed a welcome packet, and these packets go out to new businesses that come to our area in our district so that they understand what Eureka Main Street is, all of our services, and how they can become involved. Our Economic Vitality Committee is combined currently with our Design Committee because there's a lot of overlap in stuff they're working on right now. But last year, we were discussing the need for a business survey in our Economic Vitality Committee. And so that is how the collaborative countywide business survey was actually developed. We collaborated with the chamber, many chambers throughout the county, and So that discussion started in our meeting. And then we also worked with, Main Street had gotten a USDA grant for entrepreneurship ecosystems. And so we worked with Main Street America on understanding our ecosystem, and there's some new exciting things coming out from Main Street America that will be beneficial to our businesses. In particular, there's something called a small business hub. And so that's going to have a lot of educational features that will be beneficial to our businesses. And that's something that they will be able to access because we are an accredited program. Other things that we're working on is pedestrian safety. We're working on understanding our building vacancy through another tool that Main Street America provides us called Booms Tracker. So we're doing an inventory of our properties in Old Town and downtown so that we can understand what our vacancies are and how we can help fill those. And we're also creating something we're calling the Vibe social media campaign. And it's just kind of something to make the community aware of all the cool things that we have in Old Town and downtown, and that they can find fun for all price points or free in our area, and just kind of demonstrating how cool we actually are, because some people forget. Design committee is primarily things that are visual, tangible, outside, streetscape kind of things. So we are heavily involved in the holiday decor. We collaborate with organizations like the Eureka Sequoia Garden Club and Eureka Rescue Mission to get our hanging baskets up. And we have collaborated with the former mayor's Humboldt lighting project for the last couple of years, and so it's fun to see all of those things come to life. Things that we're working on now are trying to get together a lighting plan for businesses. We need to add more lights to Old Town to make it a little more charming, more than it is already, and provide more safety with the lighting. And we are collaborating with the city and the Eureka Cultural Arts District on some light pole banners also. So those are some fun things coming up. And promotion committee. This committee covers a lot. We do a lot of events of our own, and we also co-sponsor a lot of events. We are the host of the monthly First Saturday Night Arts Alive, the 4th of July Festival. We partner with the city on that, and many others. We also are part of the summer concert series, and a lot of the things that happen down in Old Town, we have our hands in. We do a lot of things during the holidays, including the snowball drop, which is something that's unique. In progress, we're still working on some Arts Alive grants with the Eureka Cultural Arts District, and we're trying to put together a resource list for artists, businesses, and buskers. And we also have some new events that will be coming up later this year that we're excited about, but we're going to keep those secret for now. And so our transformation strategy is another point of the accreditation process. And so these are the things that our board got together, and these are the strategies that we're putting to work this year to achieve our goals. So we plan to improve physical environment, increase community engagement, increase member involvement. And so how we're going to do that, we're going to improve the safety and perception of safety. A lot of times perception is really what the problem is. So the Vibe social media campaign is something that will play into that. We're going to amplify the beauty because we already have beautiful assets. We just need to polish them up a little bit in some places. And we're going to strengthen and expand our events. We've already started doing that this year. We participated in the Rhododendron Parade for the first time. And we also amplified our sidewalk sale into a spring festival, which was really fun. So those are a couple things we're working on. And we are also going to grow sponsorships so we become more sustainable on our own, and expand our active volunteers, because we need more help. We need more hands to make this more successful than it already is. And we're going to strengthen our memberships just, by letting them know what we're doing and how they can be involved. And one of the things that we do is, one thing that we've created last year was the Mornings on Main Street, which is something that actually happened this morning. And it's a very informal morning mixer. We come have free coffee and talk with your business neighbors and other organizations that may come. And the meetings are very informal, and but they're very beneficial too, because there's a lot of connections that are happening, a lot of networking, and, oh, hey, you really need to talk to this person. And so, especially in the last few, I've noticed how really beneficial they are. And so I really hope that more people will start coming out to those. So in May, it was announced by Main Street America that there are 1,291 nationally designated programs, with 838 of them being accredited, which is the highest level of designation. And Eureka Main Street was one of those 838, and one of the only 14 in California. So we are doing good work and being recognized for that. So this is our board. We have 12 board members currently, one being Leslie as our city council liaison, and they are the ones that are directing the work that is being done. They all sit on the committees, and they've been a great asset to our community. And if you have any questions about any of the stuff that I've already told you, we have a newly revised website. It's still getting some more information put on there, but our website is eurekamainstreet.org, and that's a QR code there to it. And now I'm going to tell you about the 4th of July Festival, because it's coming up really soon and we're really excited for it. It's going to be an extra special one for us because it's the 250th celebration of the United States, and also Eureka's 170th celebration. So it starts off with the 4th of July Festival, which is the street festival in Old Town, from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. So we're going to start it with a Humboldt Bay Fire Honor Guard ceremony at Clark Plaza from 10 to 10:30, and that will include a U.S. Coast Guard flyover. There will be 2 band stages, one at the gazebo at 2nd and F Street and one at 2nd and C outside of Fatsy Klein's. There's an activity zone at 2nd and G Street. There will be games, including Giant Jenga, Giant Connect 4, Cornhole, and we're also having contests this year from 11 to 3 p.m. So those will be pie eating contest, a watermelon eating contest, best dressed, and arm wrestling. So if you're interested in any of those, that's where that will be happening. And then there's a kids zone that's going to be hosted by Game On in their parking lot there, and there'll be bounce houses and kids games over there. We have over 100 vendors, and those will be food trucks and food vendors, retail vendors, informational booths. There will be a Touch a Truck zone on E Street between 2nd and 3rd. There's horse and carriage rides, Mattocket Bay cruises. The speeder car rides are back this year. They're going to be from 1st and E down to the Adorney Center and back. And we'll also have a bike valet at 1st and E out in front of Dick Taylor Chocolates. And there's probably a few things that I've left off, but it'll be a day full of fun. And like Swan said, last year, our 4th of July festivities between the festival and fireworks, we had 22,000 attendees, and we expect this year to be higher. So a lot of community members and visitors will enjoy lots of fun. So as we're cleaning up the 4th of July festival, clearing the streets for people to come down to watch the fireworks, we're going to provide some entertainment at Matticat Plaza from 5 to 9 p.m. We have a DJ Rad. He will be playing family-friendly music throughout that time. He's going to start off with Kid Pop Dance Party from 5 to 6. Taylor Styles from 6 to 7. That's kind of genre of Taylor Swift and Harry Styles kind of stuff. And then Where's Your Disco from 7 to 8. And then from 8 to 9 will be Rad, White, and Rave. So as it gets a little later, it gets a little older. But that's how that's going to go. And he has got a whole big light show and everything. So it'll be an entertainment for all. And then, of course, we have the fireworks show over Humboldt Bay at 10 p.m. And all of the 4th of July festival festivities are free admission and family friendly. There will be no alcohol, dogs, or personal fireworks. And this will be the 3rd year that we have a dedicated recycling diversion team, and it's been very beneficial to clearing out some of the recyclables out of our trash that we accumulate that day. While the recycling is a mix of aluminum cans, plastic bottles, and cardboard, over the last 2 years, they have removed 120 pounds of recycling, which is equivalent to about 3,800 soda cans out of the landfill. So they have been doing a really great job. It's trash for this event is a lot in that it's a big job, and I'm really glad that Community Services has stepped in and is helping with that. And this year we're also going to be working with Redwood Teen Challenge to help with the trash part. So we have recycling diversion and we have trash, because we don't want them to mix, because then it's just all trash and not recyclable. And so traditionally it's a very small and mighty team that makes this all happen, but we really would appreciate more volunteers if available. So there are opportunities open for helping. You can help with the recycling pickup, monitoring games, or assisting with contests or communications with vendors, or if there's something else you want to do, I'm sure we can help you find a perfect spot for that. So we have a QR code for that. It's also located on our website for volunteer opportunities. And that is all I have to say. So any questions?
That's incredible work.
Thank you.
Incredible. Any questions? Councilmember Castellano, and then
It's not really a question, but I just want to tell you thank you for all of your work you do for the city of Eureka and for the Main Street District. You didn't speak to it too much, but you also just support so many events happening. You're like such a key support person for not only Main Street events, but many other community organization events. So thank you.
Thank you.
thank you. Councilmember Contreras-Deloche?
What are the K2 speeder cars, or what was the thing it said about speeder cars?
The speeder cars?
Yeah.
So they actually run on the tracks. I don't really know how they work. There's not an engine. I don't. I've ridden on them, but I don't know how it works.
Not like a caboose style thing, but there is an engine that propels it to go.
Like it's something you can ride on?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, it's the choo-choo that goes.
Yeah.
You lived here. Come on, Renee.
Oh, are you talking about the little
caboose,
trolley?
the little
Little
trains?
trolley, yeah.
Oh, I thought we were gonna have little race cars.
No,
okay.
no.
I was like,
They're called the speeder.
I got very excited. That's still fun, but I was.
No, we don't have any car races.
I still need go-karts.
We may have some. We may have some classic cars, but no car races.
Okay. Anybody want to bring go-karts to Humboldt? I'm good.
We'll save
Okay.
the go-karts for next time.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I also wanted to say thank you. That was such a great presentation, and getting to just, especially at the beginning, getting to see like all of the things that are going into it and all of the strategy and thoughtfulness that's going into that. I feel like we're really lucky and really fortunate that we have the staff that we do that's doing all the good work that you guys are doing. And I always hope that when you're doing these presentations that some of the public is checking in and seeing this so that they know, just how much the city of Eureka is really working on things and what a great staff we have. Thank you.
Thank you. I forgot to mention that we also have a monthly consumer newsletter that we send out, and those you can subscribe to that on our website as well. And so we have like a monthly update on events that are happening and things that are going on with the businesses. And we also, so that's called a Eureka Main Street Minute. And so that's another thing that I forgot to mention. And we also partner with other agencies on things. Like during the holidays, we had a hunger, what are they called? Fight Against Hunger team. Did some collections with that. We partner with Humboldt Made and everybody on Choose Humboldt and, all of those kinds of things too. I just didn't mention all those.
Thank you. Councilmember Bauer.
Yeah, I just wanted to add in that great work. I love the report. But I did have one question about the vacancies, business vacancy rate. Have you looked into that, or is that something that we're just starting to analyze?
We are trying to look at it, and I know that the city development services is also trying to look at it, and we don't have any, as far as I know, we don't have any definitive answers to that right now, but it's something that we're trying to collect information on.
All right. Well, thank you. Great job.
Thank you.
Any further questions from council or comments? Well, then I have some. I just really want to appreciate, you mentioned perspective, and I think that really is value. That's, we can walk down the same street and see two different things, and that's something that I think all of us try and focus on, not speaking for everybody, but kind of, is that there is so much good. You presented it here. And I love that you are actually, you're working on that with the socials and getting the message out there. And I hope everybody that sees those things shares them so that people understand that, yes, you can see things that maybe aren't the most beautiful, but Eureka is an incredible, incredible and beautiful place with so many things to do, a lot free, a lot not free. So I really appreciated that. And then I did want to just mention that I was the watermelon eating champion. 1 3/4 times. The 3/4 times the other person cheated, and so she did. It was incredible, and she was throwing watermelon at me. So that doesn't really count, but she did take the sign anyway.
We can give Tina a call and give her side of the story if you'd like.
That's right. It was Tina. Yeah, it was Tina. Tina cheated. Anyway, thank you again so much. Appreciate you and all that you do. Okay. All right. There you go. And with that, it's just so excellent. You just want to kind of linger in it for a moment, This is the public comment period. This is the time for members of the public who wish to be heard on matters that do not appear on the agenda. City Council policy is to limit each speaker to 3 minutes. Such time allotment or portion thereof shall not be transferred to other speakers, and pursuant to the Brown Act, the City Council may not take action on an item that does not appear on the agenda. And if you're, come on up, Victoria. Welcome. Let me raise that up for you a little bit. You're tall.
Okay, green light's on. Thanks, Shannon. I'm here actually to read a letter into the record on behalf of a client, my client's grandson. And he did email the letter, I think, to everyone but Pam. Somehow your email was off the list. His name is Logan Howard, and his grandmother is elderly and about to sell her home in Eureka. And he is actually a city engineer for a few cities in Williams, Gridley, and one other over closer to I-5. And he writes, Honorable Mayor, and I'm reading this, it's a first person letter, so when I say I'm Logan. Honorable Mayor and members of the Eureka City Council, I'm writing in regards to Chapter 50 of the Eureka Municipal Code and the significant hardship it is imposing on my family as we attempt to sell my grandmother's home. My grandmother is an elderly Eureka resident who can no longer safely live independently and must transition into assisted living. Like many seniors, she spent decades paying for and maintaining her home, 62 years. The home is fully paid off and represents the primary source of funds available to support her care and living expenses for the remainder of her life. Unfortunately, Chapter 50, which I'm talking about the sewer lateral point of sale ordinance, now threatens to place a substantial financial burden on her at precisely the moment when she is the most vulnerable. Before she can access the proceeds from the sale of her home to pay for assisted living, she may be required to undertake costly sewer lateral work. She's a retired Navy veteran living on limited resources and cannot readily absorb a major unexpected expense. And I'm just going to skip some of it because I say I only have a minute and 20 seconds left. So he doesn't believe this was the intended outcome of the ordinance. As a city engineer in multiple cities in California, I recognize the issues that inflow and infiltration associated with leaky sewer systems can present. However, the requirements regarding laterals are not the primary problem. It's the main lines that remain as clay pipe. To require a senior citizen to incur potentially $40,000 to $60,000 to replace a clay pipe and leave the main line a clay pipe does nothing to mitigate I&I, but instead places extreme strain on a community member who has lived in Eureka for more than 68 years of her life. He has an excellent letter that should be in the public record, and you guys should have all gotten a copy of it, so I'm going to keep moving. Katie, this home is in your ward. He brings up some ideas to change amendments to Chapter 50, greater reliance on condition-based inspections rather than mandatory replacement based solely on pipe material or age, exemptions for homes not connected to updated city sewer lines. He goes on to talk about the contribution that his grandmother made to the city of Eureka, and he respectfully asks the council to review the impacts of Chapter 50
Victoria.
and consider.
Thank you so much for being here.
I know that the family would like to hear from you, Katie.
Yeah, and I know I received it and I forwarded it to staff just yesterday. So
Thank you.
Yeah.
But we don't comment on public comment. I appreciate that, though. Oh, we lower it down a little. Hello.
Good evening. My name is Phyllis Coy, and I'm here. This is on a lighter side. I'm here in response to Lou's team documentary. I would like to encourage everyone to see the documentary Lou's Team. It is about some of the history of the Humboldt Crabs baseball team. Conan Fitzgerald did a wonderful job of putting pictures, both past and present, and sports clips together. I understand that the documentary is now available for private showings only. Perhaps the City Council could arrange for a showing at the Eureka Theater and make it a fundraiser for the theater. Thank you for your time. Respectfully, Phyllis Coy. And I have notes to pass out. But it is a wonderful thing. It brought back a lot of memories for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Phyllis. Is there anyone else in chambers that would care to speak in public comment? Seeing none, do you see anybody on Zoom?
Brant.
Hi there.
Hi, welcome.
You can see my face if you want. No, you can't. Hey, I'm Brant, and I'm an intern at Epic Wild, California, and I'm here to announce something. I want to let everyone know that there's a public meeting about the proposed offshore wind lift Marine Terminal coming up. It's going to be on June 24th at 5:30 p.m. at the Arcata Community Center. And if anyone wants to learn more about the offshore wind terminal, ask questions, and just commune with your fellow citizens, make your way over there at 5:30 on the 24th. Hope to see you there.
Thank you. Thanks for being here. Do you see anybody else?
I see no one else.
So with that, we will close the public comment and have council reports. We can start with Councilmember Castellano.
Okay. Let's see. I'll just start off by just reminding the public that the city of Eureka does have a sewer lateral replacement financing program. So if that is a barrier to anyone, reach out. There's opportunities for financing. And with that, the things I've been up to are I chaired the Cal City's Housing, Community, and Economic Development Policy Committee. I attended the Humboldt Transit Authority regular meeting and the special budget meeting. I attended the Humboldt County Human Rights Commission meeting, the Outdoor Economy Summit, where as a side, I also presented something. But then also, I'm really wanted to appreciate Assemblymember Rogers for coming up to give closing statements at that meeting and for his advocacy for outdoor recreation and the outdoor economy. The Humboldt Waste Management Authority meeting, Eureka Main Street meeting, Cal Nonprofits meeting. I went to North Coast Open Studios. That was really fun. Really great to see so many local artists. The Harbor 2x2 meeting, Friday Night Market. And I just want to, and like several other folks who I'm sure will speak to it, the Dwayne Flatmo Alley naming celebration. And I really want to thank Mayor Burgell and Councilmember Moulton for putting so much care and thought into that and really just lift up. It was just beautiful to see Dwayne Flatmo so celebrated by so many people.
Thank you. Councilmember Moulton.
Thank you, Mayor. I have no travel to report. I wanted to start off by saying again, Happy Pride. Visibility saves lives. So every rainbow flag you see is making some young person feel like they deserve to be a part of our community. I appreciate that. I'll go backwards. I attended the Chamber of Commerce 2x2. We talked about Humboldt County tourism, services for people experiencing homelessness, the upcoming increase in emergency shelter and transitional housing. We talked about Home in Humboldt, the constant effort to woo and keep medical professionals in the area, and the potential for utilizing that to recruit firefighters and police officers, other great professionals that we need more of in our area who want to be here because they love it here specifically, like so many of us do. I went to North Coast Open Studios. I love the guidebook. It's like a yellow pages for artists, Oh, okay. The Dwayne Flatmo Alley naming ceremony, the mayor gave him a key to the city. He cried. It was lovely. But it was just a great big peaceful, fun, lively time with a giant flame shooting octopus. My last Humboldt Bay Fire meeting was canceled, and I attended Arts Alive, which is always very lively, especially as it stays light later and later. And I spent a week on jury duty, which is not city related, but it did take 5 whole days. So, just saying. I'm looking forward to many great things. The 4th of July Festival, of course, Arts Alive this Saturday are coming up. And Juneteenth, as a native Texan, just wanted to point out that I'm going to do it real quick. Juneteenth is a celebration of the moment when people who were formerly enslaved in Galveston, Texas, got word that they had been freed, that the Civil War was over, and it didn't happen until 1865. It took that long for word to get around to them. And Texas recognized that as a holiday in 1980, and it was recognized as a national holiday in 2021. So we're at baby steps here on reparations. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Fernandez.
Thank you. I got to participate in the revelry at Friday Night Market with the Eureka Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence. Attended the Arts Alive the following day. Like Councilmember Moulton, I was able to visit a few of the open studios this past weekend. There's fantastic people out there making art in their own homes. Was able to enjoy one of the World Cup games over at Time Out. So again, not city council business, but actually went to the only sports bar I think we have in Eureka. Was also able to catch a game, which I did not know that we had. We have the Humboldt Solidarity Fabrication Lab, Fab Lab. So did not know we had a fabrication space here. So that was fantastic to learn. And then next week, I'm attending the NALEO Policy Conference on Technology on AI and Emergency Management in Arkansas. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Contreras-Deloche.
Thank you, Mayor. So I had attended the Board of Supervisors 2x2, had a meeting with the Harbor District. Attended Friday Night Market. I think I forgot to report on the Cal Cities Community Services that I've been participating in, that I had attended that. I also got to attend Pathway to Payday this morning, which is my favorite. So another group of very, hopeful people that are, getting help with resume and interviewing, and, they have a really high placement rate for jobs, but they really just do so much. Today, as they were talking about it again, I thought, man, I want to just kind of go and do this and actually kind of attend it from from the other perspective, and just kind of go through, because it's interesting, and there's so many wonderful people that participate and volunteer their time to really help people skill build, and whether they're it's a career change, or we've had people in there that are were professors, and we've had people that were formerly incarcerated. I mean, it's just like such a wide variation of people in there that are like looking for help, and it's such a great program. And then tomorrow I have a meeting that I'll be attending with the mayor with some of our local faith leaders.
Thank you. Councilmember Bauer.
Yeah, thank you. I attended the Environmental Quality Committee meeting for Cal Cities, where I vice chair that group. I also attended the USA versus Paraguay game at the Arcata Theater Lounge. Sorry, I left the city to do that. Bad of me. But it was super fun. Attended a Friday Night Market. Great turnout as always, and thank you to staff for making that happen. It's a big lift. I attended the Humboldt Bay Trail Stewards Workday. I want to put it out there. Check out their website. People, it's a great day to go out and get some exercise and make our McKay forest, community forest, really cool. It was a great time. I attended a California Deer Association dinner, which is a conservation organization in the state, raising money to improve habitat. And I attended the Oyster Festival, which I hadn't done in a few years. Super fun. What a turnout there. And I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. And let's see, I've been up to a few things, maybe just a few. So I attended the ribbon cutting for Rojo's Brazilian Steakhouse. They had samba dancers. It was glorious. It was so fun. The food is excellent. It's where Seamus used to be, so if you get an opportunity, I highly recommend it. I went to, I'm experiencing the HCOG hiring committee. I went to 2 meetings last week. We did 1 interview yesterday. We'll have the final interviews tomorrow. I did a ribbon cutting for the Sweet Indulgences Candy Shop. It's a new candy shop in Old Town, and that is done by the Ray Center, and then Foster Mom Rose is the integral part of that. What a blessing for those kids to have the opportunity to learn business hands-on like that. Just such a gift. And they have great dirty drinks, dirty lemonade, dirty stuff. It's not dirty like you think, but it's definitely delicious. I attended the Pack Out Green Team at Vigo and, talking about the trail stewards. I love Pack Out Green Team. I would encourage, if you've never been, I would encourage you to come out. It's such a great community event. It's only an hour on a Saturday morning, and you get to be with your community. You get to make progress in the city. You get to take ownership of our city and be a part of the solution. It's just such a blessing. And then I attended the Butler Valley 145th anniversary, 145 years. Now, they work with disabled adults, and they're open Friday from 11 to 3. They have a CSA. They have fresh eggs. They make products like, they make their own honey. They have bags, like tote bags, those kinds of things. And as I said, they're open 11 to 3. That's down on Broadway next to the Great Western Boot, just down from there. I did a ribbon cutting. Imagine I did another ribbon cutting for a Living Doll Vintage down in Old Town. Dina's moved, and her store is lovely. It's right across from the Sea Grill. I called bingo at Bootleg and Bingo. It was a Eureka Rotary event. It was a lot of fun and well attended. Well, it was attended. And then I went to it was super fun, though, with the new president to be. It was just great. And then I attended the Elks Club 121st anniversary open house. And I learned a lot about the history of the Elks and a lot about, the services that they provide. I didn't know the services they provide, but they work with veterans. They work with kids. They have scholarships. There's just a lot going on there. So it was really an honor to be there. I attended the NAMI board meeting, which isn't necessarily city, but it's certainly part of my mental health initiative to be a part of that. Attended Zane graduation. Oh my gosh, tearjerker. And then I attended the ribbon cutting for the Herrick Gateway sign. And I just wanted to share that Julia from Caltrans, and Swan's not here right now, but I just wanted to share her sentiment. And she said to me, Kim, we've done a lot of projects with Clean California, and this particular sign was really a push. And if it hadn't been for Swan, it would not be happening. She shows up, she steps up, and she's a great partner. And I just really appreciate that about her, because that's not the only project that she's involved in, that's who she is, because that's just who she is. And I think we're really blessed to have her working with us. I attended the Zoe Barnum graduation, another tearjerker. Pack Out Green Team behind Walmart. So we did Vigo and we did Walmart. I went to the dedication, of course, of Dwayne Flatmo Alley. And the thing I want to say about that, it was a beautiful, beautiful event. Epic, really. Really, if you missed it, I'm sorry, because I don't know when we're going to get something like that again. But I really wanted to thank Councilmember Moulton for bringing that forward, because it truly was necessary, needed, important, and I think it was a gift to our community, and she really advocated for that. She did the key for us that we gave to him. She stood around with the sound system for a long time and didn't move around, and so that was really neat. And Sherry Arkley spoke, and again, I want to say that's epic, right? To have all these different personalities together, working together to support this incredibly talented and gifted and giving and humble person. It was just so amazing. And then, of course, there was the octopus. That was fabulous. So I wanted to say that. I attended Pathway to Payday also on Monday. And one of the things I really appreciate about that, Pathways to Payday, Councilmember Contreras-Deloach talked a little bit about it, but one of the things I really appreciate about that is that there's an opportunity to recognize your value at that event. There's opportunities that they lift you up in that way where you come in and I've seen it over and over where people come in and they're all shy and they're not, can't look at people and everything. And by the fourth day, they're like, I'm on it. I'm in it to win it. I feel great. I can look you in the eye now. I'll shake your hand. It's a beautiful, beautiful experience. Oh my gosh, I went on a tour of the world, the big cruise ship. It was not a cruise ship, it's a house ship, I guess. Everybody had apartments. And I totally Forrest Gumped my way into it. I met one of the residents, and he invited me on board, not to his room, but to the general to the common areas. I met him and his wife. I need to clarify that. Oh my goodness. Yes, I think I did. So, and I got to have, I'm embarrassed now. I got to have a drink at the bar and just see the whole layout of the common area of the ship. It was really, really beautiful. And all the people, something I wanted to report back is that every person that I talked to on the ship said what a great place Eureka was. Not only how beautiful it was, but how friendly our community is, how beautiful, just the whole area was. They did a lot of different things. They went to Dick Taylor. They loved Dick Taylor. They went to the zoo on the Skywalk. They went to see the elk in Prairie Creek. They went to the redwoods. It was just, they really had a great time. And it was really, for me, it was really, when Amanda was talking about perception, because that's what I perceive in our community. I perceive that we are good people that treat each other well and step up for each other. And that was what these folks were saying. So I really appreciated that. And lastly, boy, I'm quite a long talker tonight, but lastly, we had the Peace Run, the Sri Shimoni Peace Run come yesterday. I've been running with them since 2012, before I was ever on council. It's an incredible, incredible movement across the globe. They have honored people. They've given the torch to people. I'm just going to tell you this and then I'll be quiet, I promise, but it's just so exciting. They gave the torch to Mikhail Gorbachev, Mother Teresa, Nelson Mandela. He didn't want to give the torch back. That's so funny. He thought it was an award. Pope Francis, Muhammad Ali, Jane Goodall, Billie Jean King, and some other people. So I just, it was an honor and a privilege to be out there just running for peace. And in these days and what's happening in our world, it was just an extra blessing. So my 20 minutes are up. And we're going to move on to public hearings. Our first public hearing is a special assessment for unpaid garbage and recycling collection fees with Environmental Project Manager Pratzker. Welcome.
Jeez. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Robin Prasker, Environmental Project Manager with the Community Services Department. And tonight is the public hearing for the unpaid garbage fees from last year, 2025. For some background, Eureka does have mandatory garbage and recycling service, and it is the property owner's responsibility to comply with the ordinance, not the tenants. Delinquent accounts are collected in the manner described in California Government Code 25831, and this is a procedure to record a lien and special assessment against a property. Before you tonight are delinquent accounts from 2025. They've been unpaid for a period of 60 days or more, and the property owners were sent final notice on May 7th, being alerted to the hearing tonight, and that was not less than 10 days prior to tonight's hearing. Before that, property owners also received monthly notices about the past due balances tied to the property. As of June 8th, when we finalized the list in your agenda packet, there are 48 properties on the list with a balance of $1,000 or more. Those are being brought to you tonight to be approved for a lien and special assessment, and accounts under $1,000 are to be sent to collections via Recology. We do receive return final notices from the mail service. So those who we received a return letter that are over $1,000, they will go to collections as well. We're unable to move forward on the lien process. And then for the property owners that have received the final notification have yet to pay, there's still another 20 days after tonight's hearing before this list is finalized to be sent to the county. And with that, we do have a recommendation to hold a public hearing, hear any objections or protests, make any adjustments, and then adopt the resolution that you have here tonight. And staff are available for questions.
Are there any questions? Councilmember Moulton.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. Thank you for that. You say they have an account is delinquent when it's over 60 days past due.
Correct.
And in this case, we're talking about a lien if that is also over $1,000 that is owed.
Correct.
I'm assuming that is there anybody that racks up $1,000 of debt in 60 days for commercial properties, or is it more like at least 60, but it's probably more? I'm just curious.
Well, I think what you might be getting at is the timing of this process, but we're only looking at 2025 through the end of December. So we're 6 months past that. So we're well past the 60-day time it would take to have them end up on the docket for tonight. Is that what you meant?
I was actually just curious if there's any trash service in the city, any one client or one customer of trash service that is paying $500 or more per month.
It's very possible. The commercial rates for some large dumpsters.
There
certainly.
definitely is.
Okay.
Yeah. My apologies for misunderstanding.
No, thank you for the info. Okay. So we're talking about big commercial operations, apartment complexes, things like that, where they're not paying their bills.
Well, I did jot down a breakdown of that scenario. So for the list you have tonight for the over 1,000, 56% are residential and 43% are commercial. So it's pretty split down the middle. But with regards to all the overdue that are slated for collections and or lien, that breakdown changes a little bit. And that actually is 80% residential, 20% commercial. So we're actually seeing a much larger amount of overdue on the residential side.
So, Councilmember Moulton, I think what you're getting at is it's over a whole year period. So somebody could not be paying for that entire year of 2025. So they could easily get to $1,000 being residential.
Okay, thank you. I'm just trying to get a picture of who we're talking about. Thank you.
Other questions? Councilmember Fernandez?
Following that, then, would you be able to tell me tonight, like, what the average rate is then per parcel?
Oh, gosh. I don't think I have that info available.
Okay,
Frank
okay.
is here, but I'm not sure he would either.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's going to vary. I mean, even residential.
That's why I asked for an average and not.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the typical service for residential is a 30-gallon can.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the best I'm going to be able to get. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. Seeing no other questions, we'll open this item up to the public. Is there anyone in chambers who cares to speak on this item? Seeing no one, we'll move to Zoom. Do you see anybody in Zoom?
I see no one on Zoom.
Great. So we'll bring it back to council for a motion, a second, and comments. Councilmember Moulton?
This is our motion, yeah. The recommended motion. I move we hold a public hearing to hear any objections or protests and make adjustments as deemed just and adopt a resolution of the City Council providing for collection of fees.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. Are there any further comments? Seeing none, please vote.
Councilmember Bauer,
There's no one in the room with me over 18. Aye.
5 yes votes, motion carries.
Thank you. Which moves us to Series 2026 bonds, water and wastewater revenue bonds with Director Millar. Hello.
So the finance department has 3 public hearings all in a row tonight. The first one I think might be the biggest one because we don't issue debt very often. But the first presentation is regarding the water and wastewater revenue bonds series 2026. So in this presentation, we'll go over the water system refunding revenue bonds and the wastewater system revenue bonds. So starting with the water system, to give you some background, between 2002 and 2012, the city issued 4 different water revenue bonds for a total of $23 million of debt with a final maturity of October 1st, 2042. And what that means is that when we issued those bonds, we expected to pay debt service payments through 2042. Then in October of 22, the city refinanced or refunded the 4 bonds in the amount of $13 million because we had paid down the debt with a final maturity of October 1st, 2032. So we refinanced the old debt and we shortened the debt service schedule. So currently, the 2022 water refunding bonds included a balloon payment of $7 million due October 1st, 2032. So our current debt service schedule includes a final lump sum payment of over $7 million. But tonight we are recommending issuing another refinancing or refunding bond, approximately $9.2 million in the par amount, with a final maturity occurring in 2043. And by issuing this new bond, we hope to achieve some savings. The estimated savings is expected to be $142,000 when calculated in today's dollars. And the new debt will eliminate that scheduled balloon payment. So even though we are extending the schedule back to the original schedule, we will save money and we will avoid that liquidity event where the water fund would have to shell out $7 million. The next portion of the presentation is focused on the wastewater system revenue bonds. And these bonds are a little different because they have 2 components. One component is refinancing the old debt, and the other component is issuing new debt. So looking at the wastewater bonds in 2003 and 2011, the city issued 2 revenue bonds for a total of $20 million of debt with a final maturity of October 1st, 2041. And again, in October of 2022, when we issued the water bonds, we also refinanced the 2 bonds from 2003 and 2011 in the amount of $14 million with a final maturity of October 1st, 2037. So currently, the wastewater bonds also include a balloon payment due in October of 2037 in the amount of $3.5 million. But with the proposed new bonds, we can also refinance that balloon payment and the current debt of approximately $10.6 million. And we would achieve an estimated savings of $525,000 over the life of the bonds. And we would eliminate that liquidity event in 2037. So the new debt component of the bonds really have to do with a project that was approved last May for the wastewater treatment plant. This project is known as the Eliminate Bypass Project. The city expects to spend up to $13.6 million on this project, and the other portion will be covered by Humboldt Community Services District. Using cash or pay-as-you-go funding for this project would have significant effects on liquidity in the wastewater fund and would require delaying other high-priority projects. The city estimates that the new money component of the debt will generate about $13 million. The assumed interest rate is 4.2%. and the total payment over the life of the debt is expected to be just under $20 million. And we would pay the debt off in 2047. So I have not produced the documents attached to this agenda item by myself. I've had a substantial amount of help from 3 consultants, our financial advisors, PFM. With us tonight, we have Jaime Trejo. He's in the audience, so he's available for questions. And his partner, Eric Heidel, has also been very helpful. Our bond counsel, Stradling, is new. For the lease revenue bonds, we used Auric. And the reason why we went to Stradling was because Trish Eicher, who helped us with not only the lease revenue bonds, but the 2022 debt, has been a huge help in producing those bond documents. So we followed her to Stradling. And then our underwriters, Oppenheimer, that includes Rick Brannis and Michael Garcia, have also been a huge help in this process. So I want to say thank you to all 3 groups. So to summarize, what we're doing here is refinancing old water debt for interest savings and to avoid a large balloon payment. We are refinancing old wastewater debt for interest savings. And we are issuing new wastewater debt to pay for a large capital project currently in construction. Questions?
Do we have questions for Director Millar? Councilmember Castellano?
Sure. Thank you, and thanks. I know this takes a lot of thought and planning. I definitely see the benefits. I'm just curious if there are any, potential challenges or problems that could, arise through this, or risks to the city.
I wouldn't say there's any risks. If we go to market and the market responds unfavorably, then we can pull out and we can move on. That said, because we currently have a project in construction, it is important that we at least issue the new debt portion. If there's any downsides, it's that we lock ourselves into the interest rate for at least 10 years. But that said, the interest rate environment for municipal bonds is still very favorable and still offers us savings.
Thank you.
Councilmember Bauer?
Yeah, thank you, Director Millar. I appreciate the cost savings, and the refinancing makes good sense. I just wanted for the public to understand the whole wet weather improvements. I know we've talked about this before, but I mean, overall, would you say that we're being forced into it, but more importantly, right, it will improve water quality in the bay? Is that true?
I can answer that. Definitely will. The amount of inflow and infiltration that comes in previously was only being primarily treated and then bypassed during wet weather flows. This will treat all of the sewage that comes into the plant all the way to secondary treatment before it's discharged.
Yeah, thanks for that. Appreciate it.
Any further questions from council at this time? Seeing none, we will open this item up to public comment. Is there anyone in chambers who'd like to comment on this item? Come on up. Hi.
So I'd like to make a comment on the water system revenue funding. It says in Director Millar's report that the proposed savings only $142,000, and it doesn't normally meet the threshold typically required to make this maneuver, and that's financial implications, item 1 in the packet. And then I guess it's puzzling to me that we would approve a $13 million project without a mechanism already in place and approved to pay for it. So it's kind of like, I think, putting the cart before the horse. And then I wanted to bring up another issue about grant funding. And I know that I've talked to Jesse Wallor about seeking grant funding for wastewater infrastructure improvement. And my previous engineer client that I spoke of gave Engineer Wallor the idea of actually finding a consultant to work on a results-based type agreement where the consultant goes out and finds and secures grants like greenhouse gas emissions grants. I know that, what we've heard a lot of is that we're too big for a lot of the grants like the city of Rio Dell can receive. But I just don't know that every avenue has been taken, and these consultants will work on a basis of they'll take their payment from the grant that you receive. So it would be a zero cost to the city for grant money. And I also think that it's really time to get back into the mode of working with the Humboldt Bay Harbor District on the outflow pipe from the mill that goes 40 miles out into the Pacific Ocean and stop putting wastewater into Humboldt Bay completely. And let's see, I think that's all I had to say about that. But boy, if you do the math, it sure costs a lot of money to get this bond money. The number 3 is what, like $6 million, $6,775,000 after it's all been paid for. That's a lot of money to borrow bond money when we haven't necessarily even looked at every avenue for grant funding. So those are my comments.
Thank you, Victoria. Anyone else in chambers who'd like to comment on this item? Seeing no one, do you see anyone on Zoom?
I see no one on Zoom.
So we'll bring it back to council for a motion, second, and comments. Okay.
I move to hold a public hearing and with respect to the proposed issuance. Yeah, I'm like, okay. Read the entire paragraph, 2 paragraphs? Okay. Oh, great. I move staff recommendation.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second. Councilmember Moulton, did you have a question?
I did have a clarifying question. A commenter mentioned the threshold for refinancing or threshold of savings. Is that something you're familiar with or could elaborate on?
Yeah, so if we were not issuing debt for the wastewater system, then we would not likely be issuing any water system debt either. But because this process typically takes a long time, this took almost a year, and because you have to have the same group of consultants for every transaction, what we're doing here is being efficient. So we know in the future that $7 million was not likely to come out of our bank account or cash, that we 6 years from now, we would have either had to build $7 million extra dollars into the next rate study, which would have a significant impact on water and sewer bills, or 2, we would have to go find a small loan because $7 million might not be enough to go to the public market. So the fact that we're doing a water bond in this case is really because we feel that it's efficient, because we're already working as a team with both bond counsel and underwriters and financial advisors. So it's still saving money as well. So it's efficient and it provides savings. If it done alone, I don't think it would be justified. But because there's 3 other components to the debt that we're going to issue at the end of the month, it makes sense to package these together. Also, when you go to the public market, we're a small fish. So when we issued $30 million of lease revenue bonds, that same month, the muni market issued $16 billion of debt. So you kind of have to be big enough where you get the attention of investors, because investors go out there and they have a certain budget. And if your budget is, let's say, $100 million, you're going to have to buy a lot of Eureka sized debt to meet your budget. So investors actually favor deals of a certain size. So by enlarging the debt issuance, we actually should find more buyers, and that typically means that we're going to get a more competitive interest rate.
Okay, so the savings is one piece of it, the efficiency, and then the improvements in liquidity, basically, by not having to deal with the balloon payment as well.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Fernandez.
And so just to repeat that first balloon payment in 2032 would be $7 million.
Correct.
And it's not that we're not paying it, we're just moving it down the line further to 20. Yeah.
Yeah, the reason why there was a balloon payment in the last bond issuance was a way to achieve even lower interest rates and therefore savings. In 2022, the estimated savings for the water refinancing was roughly $180,000. So we'll maintain some of that savings as well as the additional savings from the new issuance.
And then the new interest rate would be the 4.2%. And so what are we looking at currently if we didn't refinance?
What interest rate?
Yeah. Sorry.
Something that would be fairly, I think you're looking at maybe 4.5%. I could get or provide you with the actual amount, but off the top of my head, I'm not.
It's higher than the 4.2.
Correct.
But
yeah.
By maybe another 0.25 potentially.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any further comments or questions on this item? Okay. Seeing none, please vote.
Councilmember Bauer,
There's no one in the room with me. Aye.
5 yes votes, motion carries.
Thank you. This moves us to the 2026-27 proposed budget with Finance Director Millar. Oh, that's a pretty picture.
Good evening again. So fiscal year 26-27 proposed budget. Tonight, I'll give you a little background and some updates to the budget. We'll talk about the fund balance plan, and then we'll end with budget adoption. So just a quick background. On May 26, we held a special council meeting. This was the first budget study session. It included the City Council and the Finance Advisory Committee. Then on June 2nd, at a regular council meeting, we presented the second budget study session with the City Council. And then on June 4th, there was the budget study session number 2 with the Finance Advisory Committee. So tonight is the final meeting regarding the 26-27 budget. So some updates. The Finance Advisory Committee recommended the fiscal year 26-27 budget as proposed. So they gave their thumbs up at that June 4th meeting. $30,000 was added to the general fund budget in the non-departmental professional technical expense category. We found an oversight, so we did not add $200,000 to the wastewater CIP fund for the outfall maintenance projects. And then what didn't make it in the budget, or the original proposed budget, was $90,000 of proposed interest revenues in the wastewater operations fund. So moving on to fund balance, or our reserve replenishment plan. To give you some background, a couple years ago, we adopted policy 2.67. This established a threshold or a baseline for our fund balance in the general fund. It committed us to holding 3 months or 25% of our annual general fund expenditures in fund balance. Since then, we've gone below that threshold. So whenever we go below the threshold, the policy requires that the finance director comes back with a plan to get us back to that 25% or 3 month of expenditures level. So just to kind of refresh everyone's memory about the current or this year, fiscal year 25-26 adopted budget, we assumed that we would be in the red, roughly $800,000. Had that happened, then we would have started next fiscal year off at 11.6 million in fund balance, which is just under our policy level of 25%. So less than 1% away from our policy level. So even though we had a structural deficit in the current fiscal year, we were still going to end the year with a healthy reserve balance. Unfortunately, at the mid-year, our deficit grew substantially to just under $4 million in the red. So with that update, we expect to start next fiscal year with a beginning fund balance of about 8.7 million, which as a percentage of our total budgeted expenditures is roughly 17.8%, which means that we're over 7% below our policy threshold. So if I were to look out into the future and project revenues and expenditures through fiscal year 29-30, if I assume that revenue growth would be about 3%, which I know seems high, but we're expecting 3% growth between the current fiscal year and next fiscal year. And then if we were to maintain expenditure growth of just 1%, between fiscal year 27-28 and fiscal year 29-30, we would be able to produce a healthy surplus throughout those 3 years, and it would get us almost back to our target level of 25%. This isn't the actual plan. I've brought this to you tonight to get more direction. But I think, in terms of what's reasonable, I think it's more reasonable to restrict growth on the expense side and monitor what revenues are doing. Obviously, I can't come up with a 3-year plan and just set it down. We have lots of budget meetings, or we will have lots of budget meetings over the next 3 years. I think this is something we need to monitor. But as a goal, I think it would behoove us to try to restrict expenditure growth down to 1% over the next 3 years to build back a healthy reserve level. So maybe before we get into budget adoption, if I can request some feedback or comments or questions about what you think so far or what you'd like to see.
Comments or questions? Councilmember Castellano?
So what's our current cost of living adjustment per year for employees?
It's all dependent upon negotiations.
Right.
The
Or those are
current
passed,
negotiations are ending in July, and those numbers are incorporated into his budget for 26-27. There'll be negotiations that happen starting sometime after July 1 of this year, and we'll have a better idea what that looks like.
Okay.
But the COLA beginning in July is 3%.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's already
thank
been
you.
negotiated.
I
Sorry.
think we had something exist. Okay, great. Okay. I'm curious, given that, I'm imagining there are many ways to limit growth to 1%. What are some of the ways you're imagining limiting that growth to 1%?
So there's many ways you can do this. One way is to restrict, and these are not fun to talk about, but is to limit the amount of salary growth. That's a big one. That really is, it's a hard thing to do, but if we don't kind of turn the ship around, it's unlikely that we're going to have a lot of money to provide for salary increases anyways. Over time, things like freezing positions, offering retirement incentives, reorganizing departments. When you have a you do that over the course of 3 years, it's usually, it gives you a lot of time to plan. It's a lot less painful than, waking up one day and realizing that you need to cut 10% from your budget right away. So I think the goal here is to do things slowly, but to take this seriously in the sense that getting a balanced budget and even producing a surplus is really the best way to keep our salary schedule competitive, as well as meet unexpected needs, because we know that over time things do break and need to be replaced. So I think it is important that we focus on producing at least somewhat of a surplus, if not to meet that policy level, but to just have a rainy day fund.
Yeah.
And I'll add that when Director Millar talks about 1% growth, there are costs that are beyond our expenditures, beyond our control, that can happen from year to year. Perfect example is health insurance this year. If something like that happens, that 1% growth can be eaten up by things we can't control, and it could be more than 1%. And if that's the case during those fiscal years that are upcoming when that happens, it still could result in cuts that are going to be necessary in order to meet that 1% growth.
Yeah, I understand that. And I guess relatedly, also, just the cost of everything is going up, right? We all go to the grocery store. And so, I know a lot of cities have like a 2-month kind of surplus. Ours is 3 months. Has there been any, consideration, and we're not making like a binding decision on this today, we're kind of just, right? Has there been any consideration to kind of extending that 3-year time period to like a 6-year time period or something like that? Or I can see why you would suggest 3 years, but I'm just kind of curious what the parameters are you're looking at.
Yeah, I think extending, I would prefer to extend the term versus going with the 2-month. I think even if you don't hit the 3-month, having that as a goal will usually yield some positive results. I think if you default to the 2-month at this point, we're going to kick the can a little bit. I also want to note that the Government Finance Officer Association, the GFOA, does recommend a 2-month. So it's not like it's dire straits today, but typically people want to add things, like whether that's a capital project, that's salary increases. I hear a lot more ads than I do things to get taken away. And I think when you're in this financial position, you should really think of every addition with an equal or greater reduction. And that can be hard to do after we have had a number of years of very positive results. So my suggestion would be to extend the term of that policy, and especially if, a year from now we're seeing our revenue growth not hit those targets, I think the best solution to that problem would be to reestablish a growth rate, maybe at 1.5%.
Yeah. Councilmember Bauer?
Yeah, I think, these kind of times are exactly why we have reserves, right? And I think it's prudent to think about it, having 2 months instead of 3 right now. Like, we need the revenue. But I also think exploring things like the transient occupancy tax, the TOT, which is currently at 10%, I believe.
Correct.
Yeah, a lot of cities have, up to 12. And I think these are the kind of times we need to talk about that. It's obvious we don't want to cut services. We don't want to lose staff. Therefore, we need revenue. So I think we should explore that. We should explore the TOT, increasing that to a level that is something that helps us weather these kind of times. So that's my suggestion as we look at that.
I'll note that. And I forgot to add that, there's strategies on the expense side, but there are opportunities on the revenue side to find not only new revenues, but to enhance the ones we already have. So as part of the actual plan, I can incorporate looking at, a potential TOT increase.
Thank you.
Councilmember Fernandez?
I know we're not in the comment portion, but I've got to respond to that while it's still fresh in my mind. I would be cautious going that route just with where expenses are right now, because becoming over reliant on TOT to the point that we're already looking at an increase in cost of living, but just being a tourist destination during the summer months, in addition to the increased cost of gas right now, I would be worried that we wouldn't be seeing what we would expect when it comes to our transit occupancy tax. So I would say, yeah, look at it, but don't become reliant on it, because I would be hard pressed to say, let's do it. So
thank you for that. Do you have questions?
I do. And so following that, I'm curious if in some way, because with what you're projecting out from a year from now, potentially 3 years from now, could you then say, if you were recommending a biannual budget, then a 2-year budget moving forward?
Typically whenever I do a budget, or every year I do projections. So, a 2-year budget's really trying to force your or force your agency to look beyond the 1-year period. But that said, I think, with all of this, it's all about making sure that you're staying up to date and you're constantly monitoring what's going on. So I feel it's more worth everyone's time if, every year I come up with a new 5-year outlook. So you have your general budget document, but, I believe I did this last year where I had a budget document, but I also had a 5-year financial outlook. And I think that's a better way to respond to the uncertainty that we're seeing today, is to actually make that a separate product. And I would be happy to, especially after the budget and the bonds are done, to take on some more financial projections and provide different scenarios. Because like you said, we can assume that TOT, based on today's revenue dollars, would generate X amount. But if things kind of keep going down, that's, I would be inflating that, that assumption would be inflated. So I think it's good to kind of create what you think is going to happen, and then versions of like, what if it's better or what if it's worse? And I think a 5-year projection could accommodate those types of questions and concerns.
Yeah, as long as staff is comfortable moving forward with something along those lines. I understand, wanting to have an annual budget keeps us flexible, especially with the ups and downs we've seen over the last 6 months, let alone the last 18. It's just, I don't want to get to a point where we have to be rigid versus we need to maintain some of that inflexibility as things are changing. So 5-year forecast would be helpful.
Okay.
Yeah.
Councilmember Contreras-Deloach?
Yeah, sorry, going back to projected pay increases, you budgeted for there to be a pay increase this next year. That's already built into the budget at this point.
Yeah.
And that's 3%.
Correct.
Across the board with all staff, or are there any departments that are excluded from that?
All city departments, I've assumed, or will receive, and as demonstrated in the fiscal year 26-27 budget, it incorporates the 3% across the board.
So that includes like zoo and harbor positions and stuff like that?
Yeah, all employee groups and employees all will receive the same thing despite having separate agreements.
Okay. I apologize. I was going through this and trying to find it, and I even, went on the city site and was trying to kind of go back and look. Where's HBF in here?
So since they're a separate agency, they're considered an outside service, or so they're in the professional technical line item within the Humboldt Bay Fire Department's line item. So you won't see any detailed expenditures. That one line, professional technical services, within Humboldt Bay Fire's budget represents 61% of the budget you would see if you went to the Humboldt Bay Fire JPA board meeting.
Okay,
So that's how it would connect to our budget, is that you would look at their budget and get down to the bottom and say, okay, what's the city's portion at 61%? And typically those numbers match, not all the time, but mostly, I mean, there's no material differences. Usually there's a little bit.
I'm just confirming, did I miss it inside this packet that I was given? Because I couldn't, for this council meeting, for this adopted, am I missing? I don't see anything lined out in our.
It's just a single line item, so it's not like every other department. Like you'll have a city manager department, a harbor department.
No,
all
I
of those
understand
things.
that. Where is it at?
It's in the
Where is it at in here?
Is it not in the intergovernment fund?
Because I couldn't find it, so I acknowledge I must have overlooked it. I'm just been trying to find it.
Yeah, should I pull it up? Okay.
Yeah, would you please? Or you could even tell me what page it's on. I've got both e and paper copy. I'm set. I just can't find it.
Here.
While you're looking that up, I'm just curious in terms of, you know, I know we're still in the question period, so I guess, you know, are you just looking for, after the public comments, sort of our perceptions on this policy and what to do, or?
I think he's asking because he still has to go to the adopted budget part, so it'll be prior to public comment. I think this little brainstorming session is where he's looking for feedback on the.
So we could, after this, kind of chime in some of our opinions as well.
Yeah, if you can, you know, any thought or comments, I'll try to incorporate that into whatever I bring back. Okay, so, all right. So when you're looking at this document, which not many people actually do, Department 4103 is Humboldt Bay Fire. And as you can see, unlike other departments where you see personnel costs and outside services and materials and supplies, they simply have this one line, professional technical / miscellaneous.
Lane, what page is that? I'm sorry, I can't. My senior eyeballs can't see it.
What he's pulling up right now is last year's budget.
Oh.
So you should look in the first 10 pages of the existing document.
So
yes.
In the line item budget, page 9 of 105.
School page 9. Okay, thank you.
Of course, if you look at the budget book,
yeah,
it also incorporates Humboldt Bay Fire, but doesn't give you the detail that this document would. And this is the number that you would cross-reference with Humboldt Bay Fire's budget.
This is okay. How does this 8.3? I have 8.5 budgeted for last year, but that doesn't look like that's what that says.
There are some, we do attribute some of the cost allocation or the overhead to, it doesn't actually come out of their budget. It doesn't have a cash effect on the agency, but we do, I recognize costs from our internal service funds that are supporting Humboldt Bay Fire.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's more of a kind of treating everybody treating them just like we treat other departments.
I know we're transitioning to like a 60-40, right? That's ultimately the landing spot.
Correct.
Does our current, so you've budgeted for everybody, all the departments of the city, does the current budget also budget for Humboldt Bay Fire for this next year? That's what I had asked 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. I mean, so their budget is where you would, I would suggest going to the Humboldt Bay Fire budget meeting but what we're assuming, because they're on a different timeline as the other bargain groups, but what we have assumed will happen in those negotiations is reflected in their budget numbers. And what this is showing right here is 61%, because we're not at 60% yet.
Sure.
61% of what they're budgeting as well.
I guess what I'm wondering is if we have a planned pay increase for all the departments at the city this next year, I guess I'm wondering for our 61 point whatever percent, is there a planned pay increase for HBF that's budgeted?
They're on a different time frame than us. They're currently no longer under they're negotiating right now.
Oh, okay.
So what he's saying is our budget is projected at 61% of their overall budget. Sure. And that's what we're projecting we're going to be paying for fiscal year 26.
No, I understand that. I understand our portion is 61%. I'm asking if there's if they have planned pay raises in that as well.
We have no idea because negotiations haven't happened yet.
No, I'm asking if you guys have planned.
We can't plan because we don't know what's going to be the result of that.
And I hesitate to, because there's sensitive conversations around the negotiations currently.
I don't think this is the appropriate place to talk about that.
Okay. No, I appreciate that. I just was wondering if if it's zero and we're rolling into this next year, and then, there's whatever happens with negotiations, then that could push us further into the red by, I wouldn't know what that amount would be. And so that's what I'm trying to ask, is whether or not there's, any kind of reasonable assessment that's going on behind the scenes, or anticipation of like how we could potentially, I'm asking whether or not that's planned for in here, or whether or not this budget we're currently looking at could be dramatically different after that negotiation.
Once again, I don't think this is the appropriate place to be talking about negotiations.
Would that be something that we would then consider during the mid-year review? I'm not trying to.
It's a huge line item.
It's a closed session topic, I would say, and I don't think this is an appropriate venue to be talking about negotiations.
I'm not asking about negotiations. I'm asking whether or not we have, if we have any budget.
Two city council members that are on the board of the JPA would be the best individuals to maybe have conversations with.
How do we do that without violating the Brown Act?
Maybe I could just jump in that, any significant budget change would be brought before council. So though nothing now, we can't include things that we don't know.
Sure.
But in terms of like mid-year budget review and or earlier, those things would be brought before council.
Right.
And
okay.
The Humboldt Bay Fire, they negotiated a 1-year contract last time of this year.
Okay.
And in that contract, they got a 3% July 1st, 2025, and then another 3% January 1st of 2026.
Okay.
Whereas city employees only received the 3%, just to give some background about what has happened between all the groups.
And that was also not included. I can't recall if the previous years, if we didn't include that in our projections.
There was some buffer, but in that case, not enough, unfortunately.
Okay.
Just because of timing, because we have to we're negotiating in June, and we're also having to pass a budget. So at some point, I just have to make some assumptions, and unfortunately, I underassumed.
No, I really appreciate that, and that's what I was asking for. I wasn't asking for private information, which I think was clear. I was asking specifically about kind of estimations and projections, and kind of stuff to kind of anticipate going out over the next year. Okay, thanks, Director.
Anything further from council? Councilmember Castellano? Oh, excuse me. Councilmember Bauer and then Castellano.
Great.
Yeah, I think that discussion's over. I'll just say that if you look at the state budget, when there's contract negotiations on, the state never puts in dollar figures, during negotiations. It comes later in a trailer bill or something, but yeah, we would never do that. You're showing your hand if you put it into the budget when you're in the contract negotiation. So just to be clear, yeah, this discussion should be in another venue. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Castellano.
Okay. I guess back to just kind of offering feedback on the policy. I think that it seems like there's a lot of sort of nuance in how it could be implemented. I do think that extending it from 3 to 5 years may be more beneficial, just in terms of allowing us some flexibility to see how things evolve over time. We can always bring it back if we need to, in terms of planning. And then also, this is kind of related, but to kind of the overall budget discussion, I do think there are a couple things that we should just have on our radar in terms of considering for future discussion. And one is insurance. I would love to kind of have maybe like mid-year in a few months bring back a presentation on the cost of insurance in terms of whether we need more advocacy with our insurance provider, and I know we have great representation on the board, and or if like in terms of looking for other options like larger deductibles in which the city could kind of like bank that deductible or something, I think there's some cool options there. And or I know the city of Arcata just switched to a different insurance provider. I'm not saying we should do that, but just to kind of to look at what's out there. And then, I do think kind of related to this, right, there's sort of like, how do we track things as they go? And I think that's sort of maybe the spirit of some of the questions that were brought up earlier. And one of the things, and this is sort of both this item and the overall budget, is just sort of like, like tracking over time and those kinds of things that cause changes in the budget in terms of, like I definitely understand sometimes we need overtime just due to specific situations. But if we do exceed our overtime, our budgeted overtime, I would love to have a report, and that would bring, by whatever department or departments, that would bring forward the causes for that overtime in case there are issues that we should address, structural issues, and then whether or not there have been salary savings, that kind of accompany that increased overtime. Because I know that that's something that, I think it's just good to kind of keep track of. Those are my kind of general thoughts on that. And I do agree about the TOT, and I'm imagining someone will bring it up in future agenda items. But, the Humboldt County, Arcata, Reading all have 12% TOTs. And so I think the city of Eureka is sort of slightly differently positioned in terms of there's room for us to potentially grow.
Any further questions or comments? Seeing none, I'm going to open this item up for public comment. Is there anyone from the... Did you have more?
No. I'm sorry.
Okay.
This is perfect timing, in fact.
Great. Okay, so we are going to open this item up for public comment. Come on up. Hello. Welcome.
Hi. Deborah Dukes. And I'm not going to ask for more money, but I'm going to ask for more clarification. So you may thank me now. I'm here because of first, thank you so much for adding your proportional contribution to the Regional Climate Action Plan Administrator position. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Unfortunately, it's under General Fund Professional Technical Miscellaneous, which someone once told me that miscellaneous is a category that means nothing because it can be anything. I don't know what the budget or the terminology constraints are for the budget, but I'm very concerned that the $30,000 that you added last week or 2 weeks ago is just kind of going to disappear into the general fund. I would posit that the regional action or the regional climate action plan is going to save the city and the county and the other local entities who are involved with it, save both money and save their citizens' health and well-being, save the citizens' money. And I would really, really request that you specify that $30,000 is a separate line item. If you have to put another, I kind of was amused as you were looking for the Humboldt Bay Fire, because I was looking for, is there anything here for the Regional Climate Action Plan? Nope, just miscellaneous under general fund. So please, if you need to put a separate division or section for the Regional Climate Action Plan Administrator, whatever you have to do to get that $30,000 out of miscellaneous in the general fund, please do it. I really, really don't want to see that money disappear, and I don't want it contingent on what the county or Arcata or any of the other cities provide. We have a responsibility. You guys were the first ones to adopt the Climate Action Plan, and we have a responsibility as the county seat, as the largest city, to provide our share of that money. Don't let it disappear into the general fund, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Deborah. Is there anyone else in chambers who'd like to comment on this item? Seeing none, do you see anybody on Zoom?
I see no one on Zoom.
So we will bring it back to council for a motion and a second and further comments. After we have a motion.
Okay. Go ahead if you like.
Councilmember Moulton?
Thank you. I move we adopt a resolution of the City of Eureka adopting the budget for fiscal year beginning July 1, 2026. A resolution of the Eureka Public Financing Authority adopting the budget for fiscal year beginning July 1, 2026.
Second.
So we have a motion and a second, and we have a clarifying question from Councilmember Deloach.
The
Contreras Deloach.
Yeah, thank you.
Pardon me.
It's okay. Anything will do. To our public commenters question, that was a question for me too. The way that that's lined out, is that just the fund that it's coming from, or is it really that vaguely designated?
Can I answer this one?
Yeah, I wasn't sure who the director who should have the question.
$30,000 would have to come from the general fund because we can't, not water or wastewater monies.
Sure.
So professional technical is actually a very widely used and sometimes well appreciated account. It's very common. I don't like creating new accounts necessarily. I wouldn't be concerned that it's just sitting some miscellaneous account that will get captured in what they call the black hole.
Yeah.
So you can rest or you can sleep soundly tonight knowing that there's $30,000 available in next year's budget if you intend to use that to support RCEA's position. So whenever you want to commit that $30,000, it's in the budget for you to spend essentially.
And I'm sorry, go.
Oh, that's all I have.
And just to provide clarification, the direction that staff understood that we received was that there would be a discussion between the county, Arcata, and the other city managers that are part of RCEA with their executive director, come back with a decision. And if that is to be used and council's direction to be used for the climate action coordinator, so be it. If not, it would be set aside for some other component of the climate action plan.
Thank you. Councilmember Moulton and then Fernandez.
That was my question.
Fernandez?
Yeah, so thank you for that then. Let's see. Because that was the direction I think we all voted on last time. I think that was unanimous from all of us, and that was my understanding. So that money then is currently set aside, and we're just waiting for a meeting.
Correct.
Okay.
That's what the direction we
interpreted.
interpreted.
Because there seemed to be some misunderstanding on what the position was last time, and so are we waiting clarity on that?
Yes, there's been discussion. The budget just came out from RCEA, and they've made some changes to that budget. And there is a planned meeting between all of the city managers that are representatives of the JPA for RCEA, as well as the CAO, to have a meeting with the executive director of RCEA and have that discussion.
I didn't know that their budget just came out, and so I don't know if you've had a chance to review it yet.
I have.
Do you have an interpretation then on what their budget is and what they're planning?
They're in a deficit right now, and there's a couple of recommendations that the board hasn't taken action on for removal of certain positions as well as other adjustments to their initially proposed budget. That has yet to be determined.
Okay. Because I do want to do our diligence in funding that position based on our agreements, but I don't want to have that money set aside and then sit there until the mid-year review.
It definitely won't take that long.
Okay.
I mean, this meeting's happening in July, and then at that point in time, we'll come back and provide a report to council.
Okay. All right.
And that's July of this year, not
Right.
next year.
Well,
Okay.
July. Yeah. We don't have to get into the fiduciary responsibilities. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Castellano.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it seems like that question, the riddle would best be solved by bringing it back to council once we have more information. And I do thank you for your work on this. And, I do appreciate your relatively cautious approach to city finances and, responsible use of funds. And I think that there are some ways that, again, we can kind of continue to think about economic development opportunities as well, that should kind of how do we, the downfall of restrictions sometimes is it actually kind of limits opportunity to grow. And so to, continue to keep weighing those options or, to kind of bringing forward like how strategic investments may also create more economic activity in the future. I feel comfortable moving forward. Oh, also, I just thought it was interesting that zoo classes and roller skating typically earn way more money than we're budgeting in terms of I was like, oh, that's cool. Keep the roller skating rolling. And generally speaking, in terms of our conservative approach, I think thinking about things like in which we're, for instance, right, like when people, those 3% cost of living adjustments that have been taking place, they do often result in people spending more money in the city that generates economic activity. And so there's some sort of exponential factor that also does weigh into that, even though we can't, as costs increase, there's sort of a balance to that too. And it seems like, I'm curious just in terms of timing, there's still some things that we'll kind of learn. When do you, mid-year budget reviews, what, typically like November?
No, it's.
I'm sorry. No, it can be late February or even early March, just because of the delays and when we collect sales tax, and then also just we're always 2 weeks behind with payroll. In years prior, a lot of times I'll come at the end of the calendar year to kind of look back at the previous fiscal year. So that would be a good time to not only look back at what actually happened versus what we assumed happened, and then to give you an update of what's happened in the first quarter of the fiscal year.
And we typically get our audit back from the fiscal year in September, correct?
Audit usually comes early in the following calendar year. Okay. And that's an important document to verify that what we assume we have in fund balance is actually in fund balance. Those financial statements are very important documents. They're verified by an outside professionals who will confirm that you either have it or you don't have it. And so I would like to bring those back in the future to kind of reconcile what we have in the budget versus what our outside CPAs are telling us we have. Yeah. So I think that's an important thing that I haven't done in the past, but I'd like to do that going forward.
Great. And so I guess I have a selfish interest perhaps in maybe just seeing some trends in like October, November, just so that I have the opportunity to weigh in on them while I'm still here, if that be possible.
Thank you. Any further questions? Seeing none? Yeah, seeing none, please vote.
Councilmember Bauer?
There's no one in the room over 18. Aye.
5 yes votes, motion carries.
Great, thank you. And I know you have one more item, but we're going to take a break. So we'll see you back in 6 or 7 minutes. To all who have stuck around, and we are going to begin with the proposed fee schedule with Director Millar. And this is a public hearing.
So the last finance-related public hearing tonight is about the fiscal year 26-27 proposed fee schedule. There's not much to say about the fee schedule. We saw increases in almost every department. Most of the increases were simply going up to capture the cost of the services. There were a little more of an increase in our zoo admission fees. And then in some cases, we went through and rounded some fees to reduce the amount of pennies that we used now that the penny is discontinued. So unless there are any questions about particular fees, I've provided the staff recommendation on the PowerPoint.
Great. Okay. Questions, Councilmember Castellano?
Just one tiny question. I was just curious, the fee for cruising vessels at the harbor seems sort of low, $1 per foot per day. That's for visiting vessels, right?
Yes, and those are typically larger vessels, and they're typically either most of the time at Bonnie Gould dock when they come in. That's kind of our transient vessel location that we put folks. Okay. So because of the size of them, we still get it, and we want to attract them as well.
Yeah, and just compared to like other places, it seems sort of low, but yeah. Fair enough.
Okay. Any other questions, Councilmember Fernandez?
Yeah, I see one on here, and I know we've talked about it, and I'm just curious if and when we've started collecting it, the foreclosure vacancy registration.
So that is in preparation for anticipation of something being brought back to council. For that, we've been having meetings with Council Member Castellano to kind of start a pilot project at a lesser level, and so that was put in there in preparation for something to be adopted by council within the next few months, hopefully.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, anything further? Seeing no one, we will open up the public hearing on this item. Is anyone here from the public who'd like to comment on this item? Seeing none, do you see anybody on Zoom?
I see no one on Zoom.
So we'll bring it back to council for a motion second and any further comments. Councilmember Moulton?
I do have a comment, but I'll make the motion first. I move we adopt a resolution of the Eureka City Council establishing various fees and service charges within the city of Eureka for fiscal year 2026-2027.
Second. So we have a motion and a second. Councilmember Moulton, did you have a question?
Thank you. Yes, I would like to propose some small changes to the fee schedule, specifically in the area of when talking to people about parking in Old Town. And I know that there's some changes that are going to happen. And I think one of the biggest reliefs we have for people is the parking permits that are available to employees and to residents. And I would like to propose a discount on parking permits that currently stand at $70 a year. But I'd like to see a discount for seniors, for persons with disabilities, regardless of whether or not they have a handicap placard, and folks who are qualifying for SNAP, for food assistance. So if we could create something that allows for confirmation of those three categories, and then I think I hesitate to throw a number out, but I think a significant discount for them so that the fee is somewhat more nominal, perhaps.
So I have a clarifying question. So when you're talking about disabled, even without a placard, how would that be tracked? How do you propose that would be tracked?
That's a great question. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm sure that SNAP and senior is easy to confirm.
Sure.
But is there an I have a disability card?
I would, it could potentially be a doctor's note.
A doctor's note?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
It would have to be brought back.
So yeah.
We can't amend this fee schedule because it's been.
It's the 10-day public hearing. I meant to get back to you about that, Councilmember Moulton, but like I was trying to get the answer to, because we have to notice this within 10 days, we can bring something back and amend the fee schedule with another public notice, but we'd have to come back and do that in order to change it.
So I should bring this up during new business?
Yeah, you can do that as a future agenda item.
Okay.
With a proposal for a discounted rate for parking permit fees.
I will do that.
Sorry, I didn't remember to remind you.
Councilmember Fernandez.
Yeah. Sorry, I had to find it on here again. It's page 57, but it's schedule of fees and charges, DUI fees per incident, $350, and then down to $0 for this year. Can you tell me what occurred there?
I meant to call the chief on that one. Yeah. Chief, you know why that went away?
Right. Hello.
Good evening, everyone. I believe it was a change in the state legislature and what we could actually charge for. So we've had it on there for years and we don't charge it. So we just took it off our fee schedule. So it's not even visible to the community.
So then we can't charge that fee because the state's saying we can't.
I believe that's the process. And then we haven't never charged it after we put it on there. So we took it off because we're not using it. And it's useless to have it on there.
Okay. Well, I'm not saying I want to treat DUIs any less than they are, but if it's not something we've charged in the past and the state's saying we can't do it, then I don't know, folks up here, do you have feelings about it? Is it something we can keep on there, but make sure? I mean, it sounds like it was an eventful weekend, so that's part of the reason I would ask.
I have a clarifying question.
Yeah.
So there are fees for DUI. Who is it? The county that gets paid for those?
I believe most of the fees go to the state. I'm
To
sure
the
there's
state,
some
okay.
kickback, like on every citation that comes back to this county to give out to the departments. But on most citations, a $400 citation, the city may get $12 back.
Okay.
So it's nothing that's going to fund the general fund or any positions within my department. It's nominal for processing fees and things like that.
But my understanding is there is a substantial fee, especially as you rack them up. Is that?
That is correct. It just doesn't come back to the local level where the arrest happened. It's going to some other fund.
Gotcha.
Not that I would know, but the classes and everything are expensive too.
Yeah. Councilmember Contreras-Deloach?
Oh, no, I appreciate the explanation because I'm of the mind that it should be like so incredibly high that it's a significant deterrent.
Yeah,
I
unfortunately,
think it should hurt.
laws have just changed. We used to tow a lot more cars for different things and be able to impound cars and hold on to them. And state law has changed. They found it to be unfair, and so we've had to lessen what we can tow cars for, which creates a deficit in what we can actually charge fees for to get cars released. And I believe that's kind of what this is falling under.
I see. Thank you.
Anything? Yeah, thank you, Chief. Anything further from council? Councilmember Contreras-Deloach?
I don't know if when Councilmember Moulton brings it up as a future agenda item, that would be the appropriate time to ask a question, but I wanted to ask a question about her proposal for seniors having a discount.
Yeah, we can do it.
You want to do it then?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to ask questions.
Just one.
Okay. 2.
1.5. Thank you. And with that, we will open up the public hearing. Did we already open up? No, we did. We did already open up the, see, I got distracted by the whole DUI thing. We have a motion and a second. Please vote. Thank you.
Councilmember Bauer?
I'm all alone in this room. Aye.
5 yes votes, motion carries.
Thank you. All right, this moves us to the AB 2561 annual position vacancy rate presentation with HR Director Folger. Such a character.
I don't know if you want to follow all that.
Hello.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My PowerPoint is getting queued up here right now. All right. Thank you. So here, today we're going to be talking about the AB 2561 requirement from the state that went into effect last year, or in 2024, that requires us to address the issue of job vacancies and recruitment efforts and retention rates for city positions on an annual basis. So we try to push this as close to the budget adoption process as we can, because we look back over the fiscal year so we can talk about these rates as they relate to the budget and budgeted positions for as much of the fiscal year as we can capture. So with that,
Just do the arrows right there on the keyboard.
oh, okay, great. Here's our workforce information. As you can see, we have the all of our various departments. It looks a little different than it did before because now we have an engineering department separated out from what it was once under Public Works. That's been the case for a little bit. But generally speaking, this is what our organizational makeup looks like. There's a lot of data that we've boiled down to kind of give you a snapshot of what each month looks like. But the real important figures to be looking at here are the average number of vacancies that are at the beginning and end of each month. And so, and of course, the average, highest and lowest. And so, sorry, I'm getting myself confused on this one piece. But in any case, what you can see with this data is that our trends are looking really good. Now, our trends are good because of not just our retention has gotten better. As you can see, the highest number of vacancies are down in all counts, but it's also because we did just less recruitment too. So there will be more data on that coming up. We've broken out this data by various groups. So we have our 2 bargaining units, the Teamsters, Local 137, Eureka Police Officers Association. We also have the non-labor units, that's management, department heads, and then our confidential group. So you'll see that the Police Officers Association has a higher level of its vacancy rate percentage. That's just up a couple of percentage points from what it was last year, while Teamsters is down a couple of percentage points from what it was last year, and then the non-labor units have held the same. This, on average, EPOA has had 7 vacant officer positions all fiscal year, in addition to other steady vacancies that they've had in certain units, such as the dispatch. They've been down 1 dispatcher. Again, this is our averages, and in the property department until a couple of months ago. So their vacancy rate is high, but it's always kind of hovering around this amount. So it's not a drastic change one way or the other, but it is something for you guys to be aware of and for us to keep track of. We'll move on to... So vacancies are created in various ways. When we add new positions, that creates a vacancy that must be filled. It also requires a recruitment. And we had a lot less newly budgeted positions in this last fiscal year. And so there's just less vacancies that were created on that front, and our retention rates have been better. So these vacancies that are created by separations for the most part, which is just our regular turnover, people leaving, resigning, retiring, being promoted into a different position, so internal opportunity. And then, of course, like I said, the newly budgeted positions. But the figure to look at here is our annual staffing turnover rate is 8% overall, which is down 1% from last year. So now we're going to talk a little bit about our recruitment efforts. So here's what our recruitment process looks like at a snapshot. First of all, we get a notification for a vacancy to be filled. The department fills out a requisition, and then your HR department begins the recruitment process. We then screen the applications that we receive and then do a screening testing process. Usually that's either an oral board or a written test for qualification. We then create a eligibility list and rank the top qualified candidates based on those tests, and then refer those candidates to the department. The department then will conduct their own interviews, offer a job to the one that the person they select, and then we'll begin an onboarding and background process. And then once that's complete, we have a start date and a new hire orientation, and they're off and running. Just a few snapshots of this last fiscal year of some of the events, the recruitment events that we attended. But HR staff do a heck of a lot more than just attending these events. And we're often joined by representatives of the departments themselves who got these great booths. It's very common for us to go out there in partnership with the police department and the community services department. But there's a lot of these more large-scale events that occur where we make sure that the city has a presence and is representing us as an employer in the community. But every day there's a lot of work being done on the recruitment end by HR staff and the departments and their administrators. So the total number of FTEs that we've filled in this last fiscal year have been 24.1. So just breaking it down into a little bit more detail, the existing eligibility lists, we have 5 people who are coming from an existing eligibility list as opposed to a new recruitment. New recruitments open have been 13.1. Promotional only recruitments, we've hired 6 people there. The average time to recruit is 32 days, and our acceptance rate is 96%. So I want to focus in real quick on the average time to recruit. 32 days from getting a requisition to filling a role in government, that's 32 days is a tremendous feat as to how quickly we're able to do this on average. Sometimes it's a little longer, but sometimes it's shorter. But around a month is about as fast as we can possibly do it and still maintain a very robust and compliant process for screening and onboarding applicants. So that's takes a tremendous amount of work from your HR staff. And I'd also like to just shout out to Sarah Henriksen, who's the recruiter for our office. She's our HR tech or HR analyst too. She does a lot of the heavy lifting on the recruitment side. Of course, Selena, who you all know in our office, supports her directly. But Sarah leads the charge every day on behalf of all of our departments to fill them with the best people that we can find and get everybody through the door with like a smile. And she put together all of this information as well. She was unable to present on it this year, so you're stuck with me doing it when she could really drill into these numbers and speak from her daily experience performing this role in our office. Likewise, the acceptance rate of 96% is really, really great. That means people want to work here. They're not just tossing their hat in the ring to fish out an offer so that they can leverage their current employer to pay them more. That's very, very common. Over this last fiscal year, we've seen a tremendous amount of people coming through the door with the intent of working here and not just trying to string us along. If we were able to get to 100% with this number, we're only talking about like a couple of people who said no. So, and those are with hard to fill positions that we had some no's come through. Okay, retention. Our retention rates are broken out again by bargaining unit and employee group. So there we have Teamsters Local 137, Eureka Police Officers Association, department heads and management and mid-management and confidential. When you look at it by department, you can see the retention rates over this last fiscal year. These are really positive rates. There's been very low turnover. Even in the police department, which we typically experience some good turnover because it's very, very hard to become a cop or a dispatcher and pass your probation. That's a really good retention rate average for a law enforcement department. That means they're doing a lot of work to retain their people, train them well, and keep them on board. There's a lot of work to be done, but when you look at these numbers, I'm very pleased to report on them. And I'll also say that in the police department, two of the vacancies that were created within that unit were due to an internal promotion too. So there's good vacancies. There's those good ones that are created too, that are by internal opportunity, which touches that percentage there, of course, but it doesn't tell that percentage doesn't tell that part of the story. And so our citywide retention rate at 92% is very, very positive. Still got retention. I feel like, I went back, sorry. That's just a quick overview of the information that we're required to present to you on an annual basis. But again, the story behind this data is the people that make this their daily life to ensure that we're looking for the best people, making connections where we find them, representing the city well in the information that we put out there, trying our best to keep track of the local labor market and seeing where we need to make adjustments internally, working with our colleagues internally to address those, and our partners with the unions. These are on a continuum, they're constant. And we're always making adjustments. There's a cost associated with recruiting. So retention is where we try to focus a lot of our energy, training new people, onboarding, waiting to have something filled. Work stops while we have a vacant position. This is the way that our department is able to deliver for the rest of the departments. It's a huge thing to be able to support through the recruitment process because it represents an unknown, but it's definite cost when that position is vacant. And so, and the unknown, of course, is who are we going to get and what are we going to do with them? Oh, we don't quite know. But I think that the rates of acceptance and the rates of which people are retained doesn't just show that we're a cool place to work. It shows that we're getting cool people in who we want to work with. So that's all I have for you today. And if there's any other questions that we want to dive into a little more data, I do encourage you to reach out to my office where I can put you in touch with Sarah and Selena who are working through this effort every day.
Great. Thank you. Do we have any questions? Councilmember Contreras-Deloach and then Castellano.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate the presentation too, and I think it's a testament to really quality recruiting strategies that their retention rate is that good and that the acceptance rate is that high. Sorry, apparently I've forgotten how to talk. I did have one little question on the one side. It said we had a 53% vacancy rate in the city attorney office and it had it as 3 positions. I was just curious about that because the whole time I've been here, we've had like 1.5.
That's a great question. So there are 3 positions allocated to the city attorney's office. However, we have 2 of those positions being filled by our contract attorneys, who are, of course, the wonderful Robert Black over here.
Sure.
And the equally great, but not quite as experienced, Greg. But Greg Holtz. But I'm glad you pointed that out. That was in my notes that I actually found a little too late, where I can view the slide notes. But that explains that. So those are there. It's calling them vacant, but they are actually filled by these great folks that are working in that department for.
Yeah. Okay.
as
So that's
attorneys.
kind of skewing it a little. Is that skewing your
It
overall
is.
statistics
I mean,
a little bit?
it would have been. We could have put that in as filled, because the roles are being filled.
Yeah.
But it seemed a little disingenuous to do so, given that it's on utilizing outside help.
I see.
Yeah, they're contract employees and not
Yeah.
city employees.
Yeah, I understood. Thank you. I appreciate
Yeah.
the explanation.
Councilmember Castellano.
Just a quick question. It's very minor. I don't quite understand what an existing eligibility list is.
Okay, so an existing eligibility list is established once we've completed the recruitment application acceptance process and the screening process, and it ranks individuals based on how they did during that process, whether it's an oral exam, written exam, something like that. The top 6 ranked candidates are forwarded to the department to be interviewed. That ensures that they're always getting just the top candidates. If there's more than one vacancy, it changes. We can give more. But what happens is that list, that eligibility list, exists for a year. So sometimes, and this is particularly the case with positions where there are many FTEs in it, such as perhaps like a maintenance worker type of position, or an admin type of position. Those lists, multiple departments can draw from this list and we'll interview over time instead of us having to rerun recruitments all the time. So we broke that out just so you could see existing eligibility lists doesn't always equal a recruitment to fill the vacancy. We can fill them from a list that has been there for several months or however long, up to a year.
Thanks.
Anything further from anyone? Well, I have something. I just wanted to note that since I've been with the city, the retention for EPD has been horrible, from the beginning when I first started. And I just really want to, share my appreciation with our chief and the way that they've changed their practices and policies. People are staying because they're happy. People are staying because it's a different environment, and that goes to leadership and what's happening there. So I just wanted to share that bit of appreciation.
Absolutely. And I can also say it goes with hiring the right people too.
Sure.
And
Sure.
it takes a really long time to turn the ship with regard to hiring for police officers, because it is a very, very long onboarding process.
Yeah. And the climate is difficult in the world, but I think here in Eureka, Team Eureka, we do pretty well with training and with having a good environment to work in. It's changed a lot since 2014. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right.
We do need to take.
We do need to take public comment on this. Is there anyone here who would like to speak during? We'll open this public hearing. Is there anyone in chambers who'd like to speak on this item? Seeing no one, do you see anybody on Zoom?
I see no one on Zoom.
Great. So we'll close this public hearing, and there is no action taken. So we'll move to consent calendar. All matters listed under this category are considered to be routine by the City Council and will be enacted by one motion. Pursuant to City Council Resolution 2011-22, if a member of the public would like an item on the consent calendar pulled and discussed separately, the request shall be made to a council member prior to the meeting. Unless a specific request is made by a council member, the consent calendar will not be read, and there will be no separate discussion of these items. Still want your item pulled. So we have G4 has been pulled. Are there any other items that need to be pulled? Seeing none, if we could move to approve the consent calendar minus that particular item.
I move approval of consent minus item G4.
Second.
Thank you. Please vote. Okay.
Councilmember Bauer?
No one's in the room with me. Aye.
5 yes. Oh, Councilmember Fernandez?
No.
Thank you. 5 yes votes. Motion carries.
Thank you. And G4 is new classification communications call taker, and that's with Director Folger.
Yeah, so this new classification of emergency call taker was discussed fairly recently. And of course, the chief can come up and speak about it from the operations standpoint. But from the procedural and classification standpoint, I can answer any questions anybody has about why this is coming forward and how we're supporting the department's goals in the dispatch center in asking for you to adopt it.
Great. Councilmember Fernandez.
Yeah, I was particularly curious how this came to be, just in terms of understanding that, currently there's certificated folks within the role of the dispatcher, and so why we would be not requiring a particular certification then moving forward.
For this role?
Yes.
So I can get us started on that, and
okay.
If there's any particulars, we got the chief right over here. But in terms of classification, this would be in line with the dispatcher, with a 911 dispatcher like we have down there, communications dispatcher. Communications call taker is going to be a little bit lower level, but it's going to be assisting in the dispatch center to take non-emergency calls, and to take other calls that they're able to do that takes that off the plate of the dispatchers. Again, the chief can talk a little bit more about that, but the certification level is decided by post, like who can be a communications dispatcher that can do law enforcement calls. And so this one is not going to just be doing like emergency law enforcement calls, or they're going to do more support with the medical side. Or is it the other way around? You want to hop up here?
Yeah, that's what I've been primarily curious about, is like the differentiation between, we have the communications dispatcher and now we have a call intake. So I'm curious.
He's got you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Well, so let me give a little bit of history about the entire dispatch center. So since 2008, we've not been fully staffed. We have 10 full-time dispatch positions. We are currently at 8. We currently have a recruitment that's closed. We've done our critical test, and we have 10 people coming to interviews as full-time dispatchers. Our goal is always to fill those positions with full-time qualified dispatchers that can do all 3 elements required by our communications dispatchers. What we have found over the years is that it's hard to hire somebody that can do all 3. And it's probably less than a 33% hiring rate from the time we get them in to the time that we get through that final phase to get them fully certified. But along the way, we find that we have people that are very talented in answering the phone, that can at least answer the phone, they can enter the calls for service, they can do the medical piece and the emergency medical dispatching, and that is just giving the instructions that they're reading from the program that they have based on the symptoms and elements of the call coming into them. However, they don't have necessarily the skill set in the training program timeline to do the actual multitasking, to then take that call, get on the radio, tell fire what's going on while still listening to the phone call in their ear, answering questions, typing. So there is a need for third dispatchers. So right now what we do is we dispatch 2 dispatchers, 24 hours a day, 12-hour shifts. On those days, especially Tuesday through Fridays when we take the most calls between 10 and 2000 at night, it would be great to have a third dispatcher up there who can, 1, if they are fully qualified dispatchers, that'd be great. But 2, if they're able to take calls, both non-emergency and emergency calls, EMD a call, get the medical ready to go, give that off to another dispatcher, that workload that we're saving from those 2 dispatchers that have been handling everything all day long is huge. And that helps with their mental health. That helps with their wellness. It helps with the center to be run more efficiently. So it's not while it's a lesser included position, it is still a position that has to be qualified to do that. They still have to do the EMD testing, be qualified by the state under EMD to do that. And even if we hire them as a call taker, they have to still attend the post-dispatch academy class and finish that 4-week class. So they're gone through all the training that the dispatcher has gone through other than the radio component of it, because sometimes that is the most complicated piece, is being able to hear what's happening on the radio and answer those questions. We're building this position around either it's someone that doesn't make it through the program, but they're a great candidate for this call taker position, and we don't want to let them go because these positions are historically so hard to fill. And we can then give them more time to improve on those skill sets that they weren't having the time to get done inside the training program themselves. So if 6 months in of this call taker position, they find that I want to try the radio again under fire. I've been listening to it all day, every day, 40 hours a week. I think I can do it now. I want to start that training program again. They're successful in that training program. There is an incentive that goes along with that qualification, which would be a pay raise for them. And then if in a year they said, you know what, I think I've got a hang of this, and we can see that they're improving in their skill sets and they want to go to the police dispatch side and start working on police radio, and they pass that portion of the training program, then we promote them to a full-time dispatcher. So there are obviously there are opportunities for them to promote throughout this program, but there's also the opportunity to stay in a position that you're really good at that has a benefit for the department. It's not our goal to fill both those positions with call takers. We don't want to hire just call takers if we can avoid it. But if historically we're not filling those positions, we can't find qualified candidates, what can we do then to help the center become more efficient, help with that workload that is on our dispatchers up there and communication supervisor to assist them, and then assist the people on the street and our community members as well. So they're not on hold as long. They're not delays in calls for service because we have more call takers to take those calls. So that's the entire 30,000-foot look at this on how it may be beneficial how it will be beneficial to the department if and when we hire somebody to fill that role.
So it opens it up for recruitment, and it opens it up for retention as well, it sounds like. Yes. You have people there who are having difficulty with the radio portion of it. And is that a separate certification, or is that just like a standard that we have?
So for become a full-time dispatcher, there's no certification for each individual portion of the training program. You have to complete all 3 phases of the training program and then operate on your own for a period of time to be signed off on. And then once that is done, your certification comes by taking those skill sets that we've given you, going to the post academy for 4 weeks, and then you get your post certificate as being a full-time communications dispatcher.
Okay. And so then I'm understanding correctly that, you tell me if I'm correct, in that you do have to be certified to be a dispatcher, whether in the call intake position or in the communications dispatcher position, there's no required certification between moving to the next level. It's just a level of, I don't want to say comfort, but a level of skill required then.
That is correct. Both
Okay.
the call taker positions and the communication dispatcher position will have to complete the post academy upon completion of their training program.
Okay. And so this newer position for call intake, then it's kind of like an apprenticeship in a way. It's like maybe you're building to this, but maybe you find out that you're better off where you started.
It's one of two ways, I guess you look at it,
Yeah.
right? It's somebody that has wanted to be a full-time dispatcher and they just felt like they couldn't make it, and performance-wise they couldn't make it, but we know they can do the call taking.
Mhm.
So we find them a position if they're willing to take it, and they stay with the department, and we have an employee, right? We kept somebody, we retained somebody.
Yeah.
Or if we hire into that, then you look at it as somebody, we're trying to fill that role, and then the opportunities above and beyond that is up to the employee. Once they get through the call taking piece, if they decide they want to try more and take on more responsibilities, then we would offer that to them as part of a training program. So it gives them the opportunity to promote from there.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? So will this call taker, I have one. So will this call taker then be covering mainly or primarily non-emergency calls? So will they be dispatching to care?
They won't be dispatching to anybody because that's the radio piece.
Oh, I see.
So
Okay.
what they will be doing is handling both non-emergency and emergency phone calls that come into the center.
Okay.
And then they'll be evaluating those calls, whether it's police, fire, or medical. If it's medical, they'll give the EMD instructions, complete the call for the EMD for the fire. Then they will send that call to the dispatcher that does fire dispatching. She'll dispatch that. If it's a police call, they'll do all the questions, do all the stuff for the police call. They'll close out that call, send it to the dispatcher that's handling the police radio at that time, and they'll dispatch that call.
Okay.
They will do everything in the center other than being on the radio and actually physically dispatching calls or receiving information from the field units.
Kind of like a triage nurse.
That's one way to look at it.
Yeah, level.
And the care dispatching is usually done through an automatic REMS text. So we create the call, we send it to them, they get it on their phones, and that's how we know they've been notified.
Okay.
Something we don't do on the radio all the time.
Yeah, I've known when I've made the dispatches stayed on the phone with me to make sure that they could, because if the person was on the move,
Yeah.
they'd stay on the phone with me so they would know where they were at. Okay, anything further? Councilmember Contreras-Toloch?
Just was going to say thank you. Your 30,000 foot view, or however you put it, was extremely thorough, and I feel like I understand it much better. Thank you for taking a look at the needs of your department and figuring out a way to make that work for your staff as well as the community to make things, better and safer for all of us. So I just really appreciate that. Is it time to make a motion to accept this part? Because we haven't yet, right?
No, we have to have public comment.
Public comment on this one.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Chief.
Thank you. And I have to say that the communications supervisor, Brittany Wilson, was instrumental in having been up there a while, seeing this process go over and over again, have this position in mind, bringing it forward and saying it's time we should look at this. So I appreciate her work on this as well.
Great.
Thank you all.
Thank you. So with that, we will, if there's no further questions, we will open this item up to public comment. Is there anyone in chambers who would like to comment on this item? Seeing no one, we'll bring it to Zoom. Do you have anybody?
I don't see anyone on Zoom.
Okay. So we will bring it back to council for a motion. Councilmember Fernandez?
Just rolls off the tongue. I'll move to adopt a resolution adding communications call taker to the city's classification and compensation plan.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further comments? Please vote.
Councilmember Bauer?
There's nobody in the room with me. Aye.
5 yes votes, motion carries.
This moves us to legislative action correspondence. Councilmember Bauer, you have anything? Okay,
I got nothing.
great. So this takes us to future agenda items. Councilmember Moulton.
Thank you. Hi there. I would like to propose a future agenda item where we adjust the fee schedule regarding parking permits to add discounts for seniors, people with disabilities, and folks who qualify for SNAP food benefits. How about 65? Was that your question? Was your question like, what's a senior?
That was part of it, but Kim
Well,
or Mayor.
Yeah, so this is a future agenda item.
Mm-hmm.
So you guys can have a clarifying question if you need one.
Yeah, I do. It's a clarifying question predicated on that a certain age group has the most income to spend on non-essentials, and that is what is euphemistically referred to as the boomers, which are firmly in that category. And so as far as who doesn't really have money to pay for things, it's kind of younger groups of people. And so I'm wondering, I definitely support the idea in general, but I'm just wondering if there's a way to make it more need-based and not necessarily just age-based.
So this would be for people who live and work in Old Town, and I'm picturing because I work in Old Town, and the buildings above us are full of seniors on fixed incomes, many of them qualifying for Section 8 housing. Or other kinds of assistance. So that's who I am picturing, is the folks who live down there, many of whom who don't have cars, but the ones who do and are on extremely limited or extremely fixed incomes, even $70 a year is, like means they have to change the amount of food they buy. So if there's a better way to talk about that, or I suppose those sorts we could good thought. People who have accumulated wealth through their entire life have more wealth to spend on things, but that's not necessarily who I'm thinking of. So rather than giving a benefit to folks who don't need it, I'm happy with people with disabilities and folks who qualify for SNAP. I think that would cover that. Does anybody have another suggestion for a category that might, you understand who I'm trying to help?
I understand who you're trying to help, and I think that staff will bring back, I think staff has heard what's going on here, and I think that they will bring back something substantial. Is that right?
Yeah,
City
what
Manager
we would
Slatter?
likely do is bring back just an agenda item prior to the fee schedule to have a discussion about this with a proposed plan for council's consideration. And then once council hashes that out, we would come back with the fee schedule update.
Some ideas for appropriate categories that could also be verified. Well, while I've got the mic, let's add a discount for, let's figure out a way to create more opportunity for low-income families to enjoy our beautiful zoo as we raise rates for that. And it is a big tourist draw, and lots of people can't afford it. The limited number of passes that can be checked out are often checked out.
Yeah, we do have a one for SNAP that didn't get adjusted.
Okay, there's a SNAP qualifying zoo admission rate.
Yes,
I was unaware of that. Thank you. Okay, so there's my proposed future agenda item, just the parking permit discount.
Consensus. Okay, looks like you got it.
Anybody holding your thumb up, Scott? No, sorry. Okay, thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Castellano.
Okay. Let's see. At the next city council meeting, I would like to bring as an action item for discussion and consideration an increase of the transient occupancy tax by 2% in order to bring it to voters in the November election.
Okay. Question. We don't really want to do questions necessarily. Oh, do you have a clarifying question?
I was just going to ask if the TOT has to go to the ballot.
It does.
Okay. I'd be willing to talk about it.
Okay. So what do you think, Councilmember Fernandez? Okay. So we got 1, 2, 3. That's consensus. Okay. Great.
And a second one, I just can't remember if I brought this forward or not before. It's just a report on cottage food and businesses in the city of Eureka.
You did.
Did I bring it already?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, sorry.
But, I mean, certainly you could get consensus again.
I think it was discussed as a part of the budget in that process, but I don't think it ever came to a future agenda
I remember
item.
discussion. So anyone and everyone interested in hearing about that?
A report, just a report.
Just a report. 5 consensus votes, so you're good. All right, any further, further future agenda items? Oh, right there, Councilmember Fernandez.
Well, I think in that same vein, well, in the same discussion that we had that evening, I'd also asked about, because it was in relation to the budget, was about removing some of the barriers, reducing the cost for small businesses, such as cottage industry, such as they were doing in Fort Bragg, looking at their program.
For permits?
So
they were removing some of the costs associated with it, making it less expensive.
How about a report on the
Well,
Fort
that's what I was
Bragg
asking, was
program?
for a report, not let's, hey, do that right now.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, well, we typically those fees are based on, our permit fees are based on cost recovery. Yeah, we can bring something back. We'll look at the Fort Bragg program. I don't know exactly what we're talking about, but we can look
I
at
can
the
forward
Fort
it
I
to
Bragg
think
you.
it's just a report on that program. So we
Okay,
can understand it.
that sounds
Yeah,
more
I was not
straightforward.
asking to adjust anything
Okay.
immediately.
All
No.
right, thanks.
Do we have consensus? Thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs sideways? Do you have a thumb up? Oh, I didn't see you. So it looks like 5 consensus votes. Okay, so if there's nothing further, we will move on to city manager reports with City Manager Slattery.
Thank you, Mayor, and good evening, Mayor and Council. I just wanted to give a quick update on the discussion that happened last meeting. I was mistaken. There was a discussion and a general consensus for an item related to the Portland Loo at the previous fiscal year's CIP program. That fell off our radar. We will be adding that to our radar, and we'll come back with an agenda item in the near future about what we're thinking and get council's input about what that program looks like. And then once we can define that project, get a better idea what it costs, we could add it to the CIP. And then the only other thing I wanted to discuss was during that same conversation, the Halverson Park idea of turning that into a venue was discussed. That is already on our strategic visioning, and that will be coming back to council for a future report as well. That's all I got.
Any questions for City Manager Slattery? Seeing none, thank you all for staying. Have a great week. We're adjourned.
See y'all later.
Bye, Scott Bauer.
Is any